Chapter 1341. Killing. Chapter 1341. Killing. Don't call me that. It sounds disgusting. Baiming Xue glanced at Nangongyu and said coldly. Bitch, don't be ungrateful. Behind Nangongyu were 3 Foundation establishment cultivators. They were all Nangongyu's servants and one of them cursed Baiming Xue fiercely. Baiming Xue's gaze shifted to the servants silently. Nangongyu smiled gently and was not vexed. Xuer, the reason why I'm addressing you as such is because I want to give you a chance on account of our past relationship. You're a smart person. You should understand that I don't have much patience left. Although Nangongyu was smiling, his tone was cold. There's no past relationship between us. Baiming Xue waved her hand. If there's nothing else, you guys can leave. Leave. Nangongyu's expression turned cold. Baiming Xue, if you don't tell me the secret of the Baiming aristocratic family, I have many methods to deal with you. You're already a cripple. Although I don't fancy you, the servants that follow me fancy you. That was an extremely vile thought. Even Su Zimo narrowed his eyes with a flash of killing intent when he heard that. However, he had no intention of attacking. It was the same way Dai Yu treated him in the past. Unless Baiming Xue was against an unstoppable force, he would not interfere and would just let her settle it on her own. Hee. A family servant's gaze roamed Baiming Xue's body brazenly and he smiled evilly. Little girl, how about coming back with me? I guarantee that I'll dote on you a lot. Another servant said with a smile. Old Hu, don't take everything for yourself. We're also waiting to feast on her, brother. Baiming Xue remained silent and swept her gaze across the 3 servants. Nangongyu said indifferently, Baiming Xue, if I take you away and reward you to my servants, no one in the Baiming aristocratic family will dare to stop me. Nobody can save you. Tell me the secret. This is your last chance. In the entire Baiming town, the strongest were only at the Nascent Soul realm. Although that was a higher cultivation realm than Nangongyu, and he was only from a collateral lineage of the Nangong aristocratic family, none of the Baiming clansmen would dare to stop him. Baiming Xue was expressionless as she said slowly, Nangongyu, I'll give you one last chance as well. If you turn and leave now, I can spare your life. What are you talking about? As though he had heard the greatest joke in the world, Nangongyu laughed out of anger. You want to spare my life as a cripple? Oh! He came to a realization. I remember now. You seem to have cultivated some bullshit martial Dao. Why? Did you manage to attain greater mastery of it after more than a year? Is that why you dare to threaten me now? Bitch, you must have a death wish. How dare you provoke my young master? Young master, let us take down that slut. The 3 servants stood out one after another and glared at Baiming Xue with evil intentions. They sneered and were waiting for Nangongyu's command. Nangongyu is the only one I'm giving the chance to. Baiming Xue's gaze was cold as she looked at the 3 servants not far away and said slowly, As for the 3 of you, none of you will leave today. Baiming Xue possessed the bloodline of the Baiming aristocratic family. Even though the Baiming clan had fallen, she still had her pride. Otherwise, she would not have clashed with Dongfeng Ji over a treasure. Furthermore, Baiming Xue had cultivated the martial Dao for more than a year and her resolve had turned firmer and more unwavering. The martial Dao allowed one to take revenge and repay gratitude as they wished. The 3 servants spoke without restraint and made filthy remarks to her. Baiming Xue was already filled with killing intent and had no intention of letting them leave. You dare to threaten us still? A servant revealed a ferocious expression and slapped his storage bag. The moment he summoned his flying sword, his vision blurred and a figure charged over. It was too fast. He could not react at all. Bang! Baiming Xue strode and arrived before the house servant. She reached out and punched the latter on the chest. It wasn't any brilliant technique, just a direct punch. However, the servant could not defend against it and was sent flying like an arrow, slamming into the wall of the courtyard. The servant's eyes were widened with disbelief. His chest caved in and he slid down the wall slowly, no longer breathing. That casual punch from Baiming Xue crushed the bones in this man's chest. A spiderweb-like crack appeared on the wall behind the person. The power of that punch was extremely terrifying. Pest! The other two servants gasped when they saw that. Although they were Foundation establishment cultivators, they were still shocked when they saw that terrifying burst. In that momentary daze, Bai Ming-Xue had already arrived before another servant. She extended her fair, tender palm and slapped the top of the servant's head. Snap! The servant's neck snapped instantly. His head was shoved into his chest by Bai Ming-Xue's palm and he died on the spot. Bitch, why you? The last servant was already scared out of his wits and could not speak properly. Bai Ming-Xue came before that person and said indifferently, "You should join them so that all of you can accompany one another in hell." Piak! Bai Ming-Xue reached out and slapped him. The person's head spun around his neck for more than 10 times before coming to a stop. He was already dead. With a thud, his corpse fell to the ground. The entire process merely took 3 breaths. 3 Foundation establishment cultivators died on the spot. Su Zimo nodded silently. When she was silent, Bai Ming-Xue seemed like a gentle and weak girl. However, if it came to a fight, she was decisive to kill. Her moves were clean without hesitation. Roar! It was only now that Nan Gongyu realized. The emerald blood leopard beneath him growled and roared threateningly at Bai Ming-Xue, but it did not dare to advance recklessly. As demons, they were the sharpest towards danger. Although Bai Ming-Xue did not release her blood chi fully earlier on, she still revealed some of it. The emerald blood leopard sensed a dangerous aura coming from Bai Ming-Xue. It was a feeling that was even more terrifying than facing a pure-blooded ferocious beast. Therefore, although the emerald blood leopard was at the golden core realm, it did not dare to act rashly. By the time Nan Gongyu realized what happened, the 3 servants were already dead. It was too late even if he wanted to save them. Bai Ming-Xue, how dare you? Nan Gongyu's expression was dark as he released his aura as a golden core and said coldly, "How dare you kill my servants? Are you really tired of living?" Killing your servants was just the start. Bai Ming-Xue's gaze landed on the emerald blood leopard as she said indifferently, "I don't like it when that beast yells at me." Before her sentence was finished, she struck. Chapter 1342. Broken Sword. Chapter 1342. Broken Sword. Roar! Sensing danger, the emerald blood leopard exerted strength in its limbs and burst forth with blood chi before Nan Gongyu gave the order to dodge to the side. As an ancient remnant beast, the emerald blood leopard relied on speed the most. However, although it was fast, Bai Ming-Xue was even faster. Swoosh! Bai Ming-Xue's blood chi spread as well. In fact, she did not even circulate her blood chi to its limits. With a slight circulation, she released a shocking power and caught up to the emerald blood leopard in the blink of an eye. Bai Ming-Xue stood in front of the emerald blood leopard. She looked extremely skinny and was not even as tall as its limbs. However, the emerald blood leopard felt a ferocious aura surge towards it, as though it was not facing a human girl, but a pure-blooded ferocious beast. The emerald blood leopard opened its mouth and bared its menacing fangs. They shone with a cold glint and chomped down viciously at Bai Ming-Xue. Bai Ming-Xue's expression was unchanged as she reached out and grabbed the neck of the emerald blood leopard before it could close its mouth. Remnant ferocious beasts like this had the strongest bite strength. However, even with its full strength, the emerald blood leopard could not bite down. On the contrary, its mouth was opening wider and wider with Bai Ming-Xue's tug. The emerald blood leopard had a pained expression. Its initial ferocity had long vanished as it let out a pleading sound from the depths of its throat. "Bitch, how dare you!" Nan Gongyu was enraged and slapped his storage bag, summoning a flying sword and injecting spirit energy into it. The sword shone with 4 spirit lights and shone brightly. It was a supreme-grade spirit weapon. As a collateral lineage descendant of the Nangong aristocratic family, it was already rare for him to possess a supreme-grade spirit weapon. The moment Nan Gongyu summoned his flying sword, Bai Ming-Xue exerted strength in both arms. Shing! Blood splattered through the void. The golden core ancient remnant beast, the emerald blood leopard, was torn into 2 by Bai Ming-Xue barehanded. Boom! The corpse of the emerald blood leopard fell to the ground, creating billowing dust. It was already dead, leaving only its massive body twitching unconsciously. Nan Gongyu had not expected this and almost flipped over and fell. He had not imagined that Bai Ming Xue, a person whose golden core was crippled, would be so strong that she could rip an ancient remnant beast into two. Even some paragons and monster incarnates of supersects in the cultivation world that specialized in body tempering were probably merely at this level. Go! Nan Gongyu hollered and tapped his finger gently. Swash! A sword beam flashed and the supreme-grade flying sword arrived before Bai Ming Xue instantly. It was sharp and frighteningly fast. Bai Ming Xue did not move or even dodge. Nan Gongyu's eyes lit up. As long as the supreme-grade flying sword struck Bai Ming Xue, he believed that she would die even if she had 10 lives. All of a sudden, just as the flying sword was less than 3 inches away from Bai Ming Xue's cheek, she suddenly attacked. Without any unnecessary movements, she merely extended her fair and tender palm and grabbed the supreme-grade flying sword. When he saw that, Nan Gongyu could not help but burst into laughter. Haha, you're truly asking for trouble. A supreme-grade flying sword is not something that a body of flesh and blood can defend against. Furthermore, you're only a cripple. Suddenly, he could not continue. To his horror, he realized that he had completely lost control of that supreme-grade flying sword. The spirit energy on the sword was dispersed by Bai Ming Xue. What was even more terrifying was that Bai Ming Xue gripped the sharp blade of the sword barehanded. However, no blood flowed out from her palm. What was that? She received a supreme-grade spirit weapon barehanded but was completely unharmed. What the hell? Blood drained from Nan Gongyu's face as he looked at Bai Ming Xue with a bewildered expression. Suddenly, he realized that he could no longer read her. He no longer knew what sort of an existence he was facing. In fact, a thought flashed through his mind. Was Bai Ming Xue assimilated by some powerful cultivator? Right then, he swept his gaze and inadvertently caught sight of the green-robed man standing at the entrance of the house not far away. His heart skipped a beat. Could Bai Ming Xue's change have something to do with this man? If he was not wrong, that person was here a year and a half ago and had not left yet. However, Nan Gongyu could not tell the depths of the green-robed man. To him, this green-robed man was sickly and skinny. The latter looked like a down-and-out scholar that was of no threat at all. Snap! Just as Nan Gongyu's imagination was running wild, he heard a crisp sound and his heart skipped a beat. Instinctively, he looked over and was scared out of his wits. His supreme-grade flying sword was snapped in the middle by Bai Ming Xue's hands. What sort of power was that? Bai Ming Xue looked at Nan Gongyu expressionlessly. She threw the broken sword on the ground and strode over. Nan Gongyu retreated instinctively with a horrified expression. What are you doing? Nan Gongyu's voice was trembling and he was flustered. I gave you a chance. Bai Ming Xue replied indifferently. At that moment, Nan Gongyu recalled what Bai Ming Xue said to him earlier on. However, he scoffed at it and did not take it to heart at that time. Xueqi. He wanted to speak. Bai Ming Xue frowned in displeasure. Nan Gongyu's heart skipped a beat and he changed his words hurriedly. Fellow Taoist Bai Ming, I know my mistake now. As long as you let me live, I won't disturb you anymore in the future. Bai Ming Xue remained silent and glared at Nan Gongyu coldly. Nan Gongyu took a deep breath and gradually composed himself. Fellow Taoist Bai Ming, killing me won't benefit you at all. Although I'm only a collateral lineage of the Nangong aristocratic family, don't forget, my father is a nascent soul. He is extremely close with many direct descendants of the Nangong aristocratic family. If I die, you won't survive either. As for your younger brother, he will definitely be implicated as well. Bai Ming Xue lowered her gaze. Nan Gongyu's words struck her weakness. If she was alone, she could just kill Nan Gongyu and take revenge as she wished. However, she still had Bai Ming Ao. Nan Gongyu leave. A long time later, Bai Ming Xue said slowly, I hope you can fulfill your promise and not come look for me again. I can tell you that the Bai Ming clan has no secrets and you don't have to waste your time on me. Nan Gongyu heaved a sigh of relief and unknowingly broke out in cold sweat. Earlier on, his life was truly hanging by a thread. Farewell. He did not dare to linger any longer and turned to leave hurriedly, afraid that Bai Ming Xue might change her mind. Su Zimo stood at the side. He did not say anything the entire time, nor did he have any intentions of stepping in. He could not help but recall that night when he had no choice but to let Zhou Dingyun off. Similar to him, Bai Mingxue had her difficulties. Chapter 1343, Dark and Windy Night. Chapter 1343, Dark and Windy Night. Bang! The door to the Nangong residence was kicked open and shattered into two. Who's there? A group of guards were alarmed and rushed over one after another, shouting. However, when they saw who it was, the guards were stunned and said instinctively, "Young Master Yu." The person who barged in was none other than Nangong Yu. At that moment, Nangong Yu's expression was grim and his handsome face was filled with killing intent as he cursed repeatedly. The guards exchanged glances and naturally did not dare to stop him. Nangong Yu passed through the corridor and headed straight for the backyard. Before long, he came to a room and took a deep breath before knocking. "Come in." A deep voice sounded from within the room. Nangong Yu pushed the door open and entered. The room was extremely spacious and a cultivator sat in the middle. His long beard fell to his chest and he had a dignified gaze. This cultivator was the owner of this Nangong residence, Nangong Shang. In the south region, even a collateral lineage of the Nangong aristocratic family possessed an extremely noble status. As such, it's naturally easy for them to possess a mansion residence as such. Furthermore, Nangong Shang was a nascent soul. "What happened for you to lose your cool?" Nangong Shang asked indifferently. "Father, didn't you ask me to get close to Bai Mingxue previously so that I can find an opportunity to find out the secret of the Bai Ming aristocratic family?" Nangong Yu asked. "Yes." Nangong Shang nodded. "However, that girl, Bai Mingxue, offended Dongfang Ji and has already lost her golden core, turning into a cripple. You can't get too close to her anymore." "That's right. Earlier on, I brought 3 servants with me to Baiming Town because I wanted to teach Bai Mingxue a lesson. However..." Nangong Yu paused for a moment and grit his teeth with a hateful expression. "She actually attacked and killed my 3 Foundation establishment servants. Furthermore, she ripped my spirit beast mount, the Emerald Blood Leopard, into 2. Nangong Shang frowned. Nangong Yu continued, "That's not all, father. That bitch even snapped the supreme grade flying sword you gave me into 2 bare-handed." This time round, even Nangong Shang's expression changed slightly. She could break supreme grade spirit weapons bare-handed. What sort of power was that? Although he was a nascent soul, he might not be able to do it with his body either. To think that she can release such strength despite her shattered golden core. Could it be? A glint flashed through Nangong Shang's eyes as though he was in deep thought. Nangong Yu asked, "Father, what do you mean?" "It might be because of the secret guarded by the Baiming aristocratic family that caused Bai Mingxue to rise again," Nangong Shang deduced. Nangong Yu could not believe it. "I heard that Bai Mingxue has been cultivating the martial Dao for the past year or so. Could it be because of it?" "Impossible." Nangong Shang shook his head. "There are countless people who cultivate the martial Dao. Which of them ever produced such power? Furthermore, it's only been slightly more than a year. Unless Dao Lord Desolate Martial is resurrected, who else can cultivate the martial Dao to such an extent?" "Foo-foo." Nangong Shang sneered. Right then, a green-robed figure appeared in Nangong Yu's mind. "Father, a strange person appeared at Bai Mingxue's side a year ago. He doesn't look like he's from Baiming Town, nor is he a cultivator. He looks sickly. Yet, he's still around when I went to Baiming Town this time round. I have a feeling that there's something strange about him." "That's good as well. I'll make a trip to Baiming Town personally." Nangong Shang said coldly, "Whoever it is, strange or not, I'll kill them all." "Father, be careful then," Nangong Yu reminded worriedly. Nangong Shang smiled gently. "Don't worry, as a nascent soul, I don't believe that I can't take down a little girl. Wait at home for my news. I'll bring that girl back and let you punish her as you wish." "Thank you, father." Nangong Yu was delighted. Baiming Town. Bai Mingxue looked at the corpses in the courtyard for a long time in silence. There was a hint of worry on her face. A moment later, she turned around and looked at Su Zimo, saying softly, "Mr. Su, why don't you head out and hide first? I'm worried that Nangong Yu will make a comeback and you might be implicated." Since you're worried, why did you still let him go? Su Zimo asked. Bai Mingxue smiled bitterly and shook her head. She had no choice. If Nan Gongyu was killed, Nan Gongyu's father would definitely descend in Baiming town. At that time, it would be a disaster for her and Baiming Ao. There would at least be a chance if she let Nan Gongyu off. She was betting that Nan Gongyu would keep his promise and not look for her again. It's fine, you don't have to worry about me. Su Zimo smiled gently and returned to his room. He assumed a lotus position and closed his eyes to rest. The night was dark and the wind was strong. The entire courtyard was silent. All of a sudden, Su Zimo opened his eyes, as though a bolt of lightning flashed through the darkness. Some people are truly ignorant. He muttered softly. He could not use his essence spirit, but his vision, hearing and other 5 senses were still present. They were extremely sharp and could make out any activity thousands of kilometers away. In the room at the side, Bai Mingxue was still resting with her eyes closed. She did not notice anything. However, Su Zimo had already noticed that in the forest hundreds of kilometers away from Baiming town, 3 nascent souls were speeding over on their flying swords. He glanced at Bai Mingxue. Bai Mingxue had just formed her blood qi golden core and was most likely going to die against a nascent soul. Furthermore, there were 3 of them. Su Zimo leaped down from the bed silently like a feather. Although he could not use his dermic powers or spirit consciousness, the power of this green lotus true body was not to be underestimated as well. He passed through the courtyard and with a single leap, strode out of Baiming town without alarming anyone. Old Master, Baiming town is about 250 kilometers away. Among the 3 nascent souls, apart from Nangong Shang, the remaining 2 were servants of the Nangong aristocratic family and had already grown to the nascent soul realm. An old servant said, Old Master, there's actually no need for you to follow us. It's just dealing with a little girl. There's no need for us to mobilize such a large force. We'll just take action and bring her back. No worries. Nangong Sheng said, I was in deep thought and decided to come out for a walk. Furthermore, I heard from Yuer that Bai Mingxue has some strange green-robed man with her. I'm going to take a look. Nangong Shang and the other 2 rode on their flying swords and chatted. Right then, an old servant frowned and pointed into the distance. Why is a green-robed man standing there in the middle of the night? I wonder what he's doing out there. The moment the old servant said that, he realized something. Green-robed man. Nangong Shang seemed to have sensed something and looked over. Far away, a green-robed man stood with a yellowish face. He looked sickly without any aura of spirit energy, like a mortal who had yet to recover from a serious illness. This green-robed man was exactly as Nan Gongyu had described. Chapter 1344. Killing Night. Chapter 1344. Killing Night. The distance between Nangong Shang and the other 2 and the green-robed man decreased. The 3 of them fixed their gazes on the green-robed man and exuded a powerful might, as though they wanted to see through him. As for the green-robed man, his expression did not change much despite being glared at by the 3 nascent souls. He was not embarrassed in the slightest bit and was extremely calm. Be careful, that person is indeed a little strange. Nangong Shang sent a voice transmission secretly. Both old servants had lived for hundreds of years and were extremely cautious. I am Nangong Shang. May I ask how I address you, fellow Taoist? Nangong Shang reported the name of the Nangong aristocratic family right away. In the South region, the titles of the 3 aristocratic families were more useful than any Dao title. Unable to figure out the background of the green-robed man, Nangong Shang did not act rashly and merely tested the waters. It doesn't matter who I am. The green-robed man shook his head. What are you doing here? An old servant asked in a deep voice. The green-robed man smiled gently. I'm waiting for you guys. Waiting for us. The old servant frowned. The green-robed man was Su Zimo, who had just arrived from Baiming town. Su Zimo raised his head slightly and looked at the sky. He retracted his smile and said indifferently, It's getting late. I'll send you guys on your way. After saying that, Nangong Shang and the other 2 felt a cold intent envelop them. Swash!
The three of them felt their vision blur and their figures swayed as a tragic aura surged towards them.
It was too fast. The Green Lotus True Body did not use his full strength. However, the burst of his physique alone was something that Nan Gongshang's group of three could not handle. Among them, the two servants reacted slower. Nan Gongshang retreated immediately, but the two old servants were a step slower. Arriving before one of the old servants, Su Zimo slapped his palm on the latter's head and shattered the latter's skull, destroying his essence spirit.
Before the old servant could say anything, his corpse fell from midair.
You! Another old servant was enraged and slapped his storage bag. The moment he summoned his flying sword, Su Zimo had already arrived before him. Su Zimo turned to the next person right after killing one of them. The entire process was fluid as water without any pauses at all.
Nobody expected that the frail scholar who seemed like he was fraught with illnesses earlier on would kill with a thunderous might in the blink of an eye.
Su Zimo did not do anything else and extended his finger, tapping the old servant gently on the glabella. Although the old servant could see Su Zimo's finger extending, he could not dodge at all. A vicious glint flashed in his eyes. Since he was going to have to die either way, he might as well make his death a trade. Ignoring Su Zimo's incoming finger, the old servant channeled his spirit consciousness and summoned his flying sword, piercing towards Su Zimo's glabella as well. Poof! Su Zimo's finger reached the old servant's glabella first. Instantly, a bloodied hole appeared on the old servant's forehead as blood gushed out. His essence spirit was destroyed on the spot and he died. The old servant's flying sword had already arrived at Su Zimo's glabella. However, Su Zimo did not even blink and allowed the old servant's flying sword to stab at him. Clang! A crisp sound rang when the flying sword struck Su Zimo's face, as though metal was colliding. The flying sword fell. Nan Gongshang's eyelids twitched. That flying sword was a middle-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon and was extremely sharp. But now, there were no marks on the skin of the green-robed cultivator, let alone injure him. What sort of a body is that? Impossible! Nan Gongshang's mind was in chaos and countless questions surfaced. His cultivation realm, stamina, combat strength, blood chi and other aspects were much stronger than the two old servants. Even so, he did not dare to fight this green-robed cultivator right now. Nan Gongshang turned and fled without turning back. Boom! All of a sudden, a loud bang sounded behind him. The entire ground quaked. He turned back instinctively and his expression changed. Stomping on the ground with one foot, the green-robed cultivator created a huge pit and soared into the air at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, the green-robed cultivator arrived right behind him. Go! Nan Gongshang did not have time to think. His glabella shone and a black shadow burst forth, charging towards Su Zimo.
He bit his tongue gently and spat out a mouthful of essence blood that splashed onto the black shadow. The moment he spat out the essence blood, his expression withered. He could not care less anymore. After obtaining Nan Gongshang's essence blood, the black shadow expanded against the wind and grew instantly, turning into a gigantic tripod that was more than half the height of a human. There were 4 dermic patterns etched on the tripod. It was a supreme-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon. Among the 3 aristocratic families, the Nangong aristocratic family placed more emphasis on weapon and elixir refinement. The weapons of their clansmen were mostly tripods and furnaces. When the gigantic tripod slammed over, Su Zimo's expression was unchanged as he extended his palm and pushed towards it. Bang! The tripod collided against Su Zimo's palm. Su Zimo's figure was motionless. Although the tripod was a supreme-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon, the power it released was almost negligible for Su Zimo. Su Zimo exerted his other palm and he exerted strength in both arms, hugging the gigantic tripod before him. The gigantic tripod was squashed by Su Zimo's hands at a visible speed. Thereafter, he rubbed his palms up and down. In the blink of an eye, the gigantic tripod that was around half the height of a human was squeezed into an iron ball by Su Zimo. That gigantic tripod was a supreme-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon. However, the Green Lotus True Body was a grade 6 creation Green Lotus that was augmented with many divine weapons. It was comparable to a connate Dao Lord Dermic weapon. There was a difference of 2 major cultivation realms between the two of them.
Nan Gongsheng's face turned pale and his scalp prickled. His legs went limp and he wanted to escape, but he could not move at all. Grinning at him, Su Zimo threw the gigantic iron ball in reverse. Whoosh! The wind howled. A black shadow descended. Bang! Nan Gongsheng could not react in time and was struck heavily on the chest by the gigantic iron ball. Instantly, his tendons and bones were shattered and his organs were smashed. His body was already dead. Shoo! A beam of light escaped from the top of Nan Gongsheng's head. His essence spirit left his body. Under normal circumstances, the essence spirits of nascent souls were extremely fragile. Once they leave their bodies, it would be difficult for them to survive even without any danger. However, at that moment, Nan Gongsheng no longer had a way out. The moment his essence spirit left, he discovered a shadow shrouding over. His essence spirit had already fallen into Su Zimo's palm. The green-robed man with the yellowed cheeks looked at him calmly and smirked with a fake smile that was filled with mockery. Who exactly are you? Nan Gongsheng's essence spirit roared with a trembling voice. My name is Su Zimo. Su Zimo smiled gently. Nan Gongsheng was stunned. That was an extremely foreign name that he had never heard before. Thereafter, the green-robed man continued, My Dao title is Desolate Marshal. Nan Gongsheng's eyes gradually widened with endless shock that filled every single inch of his essence spirit. Immediately after, cracks appeared on Nan Gongsheng's essence spirit and his light dimmed. His life force drained and was destroyed instantly. The essence spirits of nascent souls were extremely weak to begin with. Nan Gongsheng died from the shock of hearing the words Desolate Marshal. Chapter 1345. Could it be him? Chapter 1345. Could it be him? Su Zimo was stunned as well when he looked at Nan Gongsheng, who was frightened to death. My Dao title alone is so terrifying. Su Zimo laughed self-deprecatingly. After the battle at Heaven and Earth Valley, the words Dao Lord Desolate Marshal had almost become a taboo. Cultivators of Tianhuang mainland would all be shocked at the mention of it. That battle was way too tragic. Although Dao Lord Desolate Marshal was eventually exiled by the half-martial ancestor, too many conjoint body mighty figures died in Heaven and Earth Valley. Over the years, apart from the catastrophe of the North region 10,000 years ago, there had been no other battle that could compare to that battle. If not for the experts of the primordial races present and the descent of a half-martial ancestor, all the experts of the supersex would have been suppressed by Desolate Marshal. Although the three aristocratic families were not embroiled in it, the cultivation world of the South region was still shocked when news spread. Nan Gongsheng was quite a character in the vicinity of Baiming town. However, he was only a nascent soul at the end of the day. He was shocked by Su Zimo's methods to begin with and was on the verge of breaking down. When he heard the words Desolate Marshal, he was scared out of his wits and died. Su Zimo removed their storage bags and stuffed them into his robes. His essence spirit was locked and he could not use his dermic powers, nor was it convenient for him to destroy their bodies to wipe out evidence. As such, he carried the corpses of the three of them and tossed them into the nearest forest. At that moment, the night was dark. In the forest, birds and beasts roamed and roars could be heard everywhere. A massacre was happening in every corner of the forest. The corpses of the three nascent souls would be shared and devoured by demon beasts before long. After doing that, Su Zimo clapped his hands and turned to leave, returning to Baiming town. Baiming Xue was still in her room practicing her breathing and expiration. Right from the beginning, she did not notice anything. What she did not know was that someone had helped her resolve a calamity of life and death earlier on. Su Zimo smiled calmly and returned to his room to rest. He had no intention of telling Baiming Xue about this. To Su Zimo, the three nascent souls were as insignificant as ants and this matter was nothing much. The next morning, Baiming Xue prepared breakfast and sent it to Su Zimo's room. He took out the 3 storage bags from the previous night and handed them to Baiming Xue. Take them. I don't need them. This is. Baiming Xue received the 3 storage bags and her heart skipped a beat when she swept her gaze across them. These are storage bags of nascent souls. She probed. Is that so? Su Zimo replied. Baiming Xue asked again. Where did you obtain it, Mr. Su? I picked them up when I went out last night. Su Zimo replied casually.
Bai Mingxue pursed her lips and did not continue asking. In truth, there was a unique emblem on the 3 storage bags that was difficult to notice unless one observed carefully. However, Bai Mingxue was from the Baiming clan after all and was naturally extremely familiar with such emblems. If she was not wrong, the emblems on the 3 storage bags came from the Nangong aristocratic family. Those were the storage bags of 3 nascent souls of the Nangong aristocratic family. Although Su Zimo said it calmly, Bai Mingxue could sense a hint of blood in his calm tone. Bai Mingxue was smart and did not ask further.
She placed the 3 storage bags into her storage bag.
There was a spirit consciousness seal on the storage bag of nascent souls and her cultivation realm was not high enough to erase it.
She had to cultivate her essence spirit first. The aristocratic family competition will start in slightly more than a year, right? Su Zimo asked casually.
Yes.
Bai Mingxue nodded. Su Zimo raised his head and looked at Bai Mingxue. Do you want revenge? Bai Mingxue lowered her head slightly. After a long silence she said slowly yes. Su Zimo could tell that the girl looked slightly troubled. The Baiming aristocratic family had long fallen. Compared to the Dongfang aristocratic family, it was like an ant facing a divine elephant. The difference in status between Bai Mingxue and Dongfang Ji was great as well. Dongfang Ji was high and mighty like a princess. As for her, she was like a lowly mortal struggling in the secular world. Although she had already cultivated a blood qi golden core and her combat strength was far superior compared to before, she could not escape her current fate. Her life and death was still decided by a single thought of the Dongfang aristocratic family. Go and cultivate. You've only just cultivated to the blood qi golden core realm. Don't slack off. Su Zimo smiled. The later 3 transformations of the 9 transformations of the martial Tao are the essence of the martial sutra. If you can cultivate to the final transformation, you will be able to suppress all the younger generation paragons of the 3 aristocratic families in the aristocratic family competition a year later. Bai Mingxue nodded heavily. Actually, she still felt a little bitter. Although her combat strength was heaven-defying, she could not afford to offend the paragons of the 3 aristocratic families. It was fine for her. At the most she would just die. However, she was worried about implicating her younger brother and the Baiming clan. She still had many burdens and restraints in her heart. The reason why she let Nan Gongyu off yesterday was also because she was wary. In the pugilistic world, one might find themselves stuck in circumstances. It was not so easy for her to exact revenge as she wished. Su Zimo could naturally tell of Bai Mingxue's worries. However, he did not say much. All these years, he had been hiding here in seclusion and almost never attacked or revealed his identity. He wanted to give Bai Mingxue enough time and space to grow. Once his identity was exposed, there would be endless trouble. At that time, he would be too busy to take care of himself and would most likely not have the time or energy to impart the Tao to Bai Mingxue. However, the fact that Su Zimo was dormant did not mean that he would not move. Currently, he was like a resting true dragon. While silent and motionless, everything was calm. However, the moment a true dragon opens its eyes, it would be earth-shattering. The aristocratic family competition. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes and murmured. 10 days later, at the Nangong residence. In the meeting hall, Nangongyu sat in the middle with a bewildered expression. There were a few bloodied clothes beside his feet and a hint of fear could be seen from the depths of his eyes. A few old men sat below with grim expressions. In that case, the 3 of them are already dead. An old man asked with a frown. Nangongyu nodded and pointed to the bloodied clothes beside his feet. There's no mistake. Father was wearing this Taoist robe before he left. An old man had a confused expression. I checked out the forest. The strongest spirit demons there were only at the Golden Core realm. How could the old master and the others have died there? Could there be some powerful fiend demon hiding within that struck and killed the old master? Another old man asked. Impossible. Nangongyu shook his head and grit his teeth. How can it be so coincidental? My father wanted to head to Baiming town and right away, something happened to him. You mean to say that there are some experts in Baiming town? An old man frowned. Right now, the strongest in the Biming clan is their clan leader, a nascent soul. He doesn't have much lifespan left and his combat strength can't even match mine. How could he have been a match for the old master? It's not him. Nan Gongyu shook his head and a sickly green figure flashed through his mind. His heart skipped a beat as he murmured, "Could it be him?"
Chapter 1346. Uncle Ling. Chapter 1346. Uncle Ling, who is it? Immediately, an old man asked. Nan Gongyu shook his head slowly. I don't know either. I only know that he wears a set of green robes and his face is yellow, as though he hasn't recovered from a serious illness. He doesn't have any spirit or dermic powers and is no different from a mortal. He's not a Biming clansman. He only appeared in Biming town around a year ago. An old man asked puzzledly, no spirit energy. Could he have cultivated the martial Tao? Impossible. Nan Gongyu said, one's body is tempered with the martial Tao. There's no way they will be as weak as him. Furthermore, even if he cultivated the martial Tao, he will have to condense an essence spirit after forming a core. It's impossible for him not to have dermic powers. Who cares about him? An old man with a fiery temper soared into the air and shouted, We'll bring people over and capture all the people from Biming town. Wouldn't it be over once we interrogate them one by one? If no one stands out, we'll just kill everyone in Biming town at the most. Nan Gongyu's expression changed slightly as he hollered, Third uncle, don't be reckless. What's wrong? The old man raised his brow and shouted, although our lineage is a collateral branch of the Nangong family, we're not people that the Biming town group can provoke. Your father is dead and his Tao has dissipated. How can you not take revenge for such a deep blood feud? Nan Gongyu shook his head. Third uncle, calm down and think about it carefully. My father is the strongest in combat in our residence. If he's already dead, we'll only lose our lives if we act rashly. The old man's expression changed. In their lineage, the highest cultivation realms were nascent souls. If the person who killed Nangong Shang was still in Biming town, they would only be courting death if they charged over. At that thought, the old man felt relieved and lingering fear. What should we do then? Are we just going to ignore this matter? Another old man was indignant. Things will be much easier if we can get experts of the direct descendants to help, the other old man said deeply. The Nangong aristocratic family had many collateral bloodlines. There were at least 1,000 collateral lineages like Nangong Yu but only one direct lineage. Therefore, although their surnames were both Nangong, the difference in status between the collateral and direct descendants was immense. For example, among the collateral descendants of the Nangong aristocratic family, the strongest were only at the nascent soul or void reversion realm. If any clansman of the collateral lineage could cultivate to the Dharma characteristic realm, they would have a chance to be inducted as the direct descendants. As for the direct descendants of the three aristocratic families, they had many experts. Dharma characteristic Tao lords, conjoint body mighty figures and even Mahayana patriarchs. It was definitely not a fluke that the three aristocratic families could be ranked alongside the super sects of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects. Therefore, Nangong Yu's group was completely insignificant and unassuming among the 1,000 collateral bloodlines. Even if they went to the direct descendants of the family clan and recounted the matter, they might not be able to get experts of the direct descendants to come forth. Nangong Yu pondered for a long time. Should we put this matter aside for a period of time? I heard that Uncle Ling will be back from the Middle Continent in more than a year. He will bring our clansmen to the Shiman Villa to take part in the aristocratic family competition. Uncle Ling? What Uncle Ling? An old man asked with a frown. Nangong Yu said in a deep voice, he's a direct descendant of our Nangong aristocratic family. He was sent to the Middle Continent to cultivate when he was young. I heard that he joined one of the 4 unorthodox groups and was even ranked on the Golden Core Phenomenon ranking. He's a true paragon of the Nangong family. You're related to this person. The eyes of the few old men lit up. Anyone who could take part in the aristocratic family competition had to be at the void reversion realm at least. All these years, there had never been a void reversion in their group. Nangong Yu shook his head. There's no relationship. Father and I only met him once. When he returns,
We'll pay him a personal visit and try our luck.
That's good as well.
The few old men nodded. Time quickly passed. In the blink of an eye, the aristocratic family competition of the South region was approaching. Few clansmen of the 3 aristocratic families of the South region would take part in the Golden Core phenomenon ranking. However, among the 3 aristocratic families, there was also a grand event that was comparable to the Golden Core phenomenon ranking. The aristocratic family competition that occurred once every 100 years. The 3 aristocratic families would send disciples of the younger generation for 2 major fights. The first part was between the Foundation Establishment cultivators. The second part was between Golden Cores. Naturally, the main event was the fight between Golden Cores. At that time, the paragons and monster incarnates of the 3 aristocratic families would appear to fight for a high ranking in the aristocratic family competition and gain fame in the South region as well as earn amazing rewards. Although the competition was not as massive as the Golden Core phenomenon ranking, there would also be many intense clashes between powerful phenomenons, and it was extremely exciting. Every generation, there would be 1 or 2 top monster incarnates and peerless geniuses. This day, 3 figures rode on auspicious clouds in midair above the territory of the Nangong aristocratic family. A man and 2 women were walking over slowly, chatting and laughing. The man wore blue robes and looked dignified. He pointed to the mountains and rivers in the distance as he spoke with fervor and vigor. One of the women wore white robes that fluttered in the wind. She was agile and had an extremely beautiful appearance. Every single move she made possessed the bearing of a major sect, and she pursed her lips from time to time. The other girl was slender and elegant as well, chattering excitedly as she gestured. Han Yen, look over there. The blue-robed man pointed to a courtyard far away. That's my residence. There's still a few days before the aristocratic family competition. Let's rest there first. Wow, that's huge. The lively girl was secretly speechless when she caught sight of the spacious courtyard in the distance. The courtyard was like a paradise with mountains, rivers and many servants, spirit gardens and beast circles. Everything was present. A look of shock flashed through the eyes of the white-robed woman called Han Yen as she exclaimed. The power of the 3 aristocratic families in the South region is truly massive and unshakable. This courtyard alone is proof of that. Actually, in the ancient era, there were 4 aristocratic families in the South region. However, an ancient aristocratic family declined and never rose again. The blue-robed man said casually. Pausing for a moment, he turned and smiled. Xian, you must be tired. Rest early today. The lively girl glanced askance at the blue-robed man, pursing her lips as though she could read his mind. Why? You don't want me to disturb your alone time, huh? The blue-robed man coughed gently to hide his awkwardness after being exposed. The white-robed woman spat softly and blushed as well. The blue-robed man said, Junior sister, what are you talking about? The reason why I invited you guys to the South region is so that you can relax. Perhaps you might sense an opportunity to break through to the Void Reversion realm and catch up to my cultivation realm. Furthermore, I'll be taking part in the aristocratic family competition of the South region with the clansmen of the Nangong aristocratic family. At that time, it'll be quite interesting. Good. The lively girl clapped excitedly. The white-robed girl was much quieter and merely smiled gently. Before long, the 3 of them arrived above the residence. The lively girl looked down and said, What are those few people doing? They seem to be from your Nangong family. Chapter 1347. Returned. Chapter 1347. Return. A few cultivators stood at the entrance of the residence, looking up at the 3 blue-robed people respectfully with a hint of anticipation in their eyes. The few of them were Nangong Yu and the others who had arrived from afar. Apart from Nangong Yu, the other 3 old men were nascent souls and were his uncles. Greetings, Uncle Ling. I'm Nangong Yu. Before the blue-robed man descended, Nangong Yu bowed deeply and shouted, Uncle Ling. On the auspicious cloud, the lively girl giggled. Senior brother Nangong, you're quite senior. The blue-robed man looked at Nangong Yu below and frowned. He could tell that Nangong Yu was from a collateral lineage of the Nangong aristocratic family. However, he could not recall any interactions with this person.
Do we know one another? The blue-robed man walked down from the auspicious cloud with the two women and looked at Nan Gongyu, who was hunched in front of him, asking indifferently.
He indeed had the right to be proud. He was a void reversion and Nan Gongyu before him was only a golden core. As a direct descendant of the Nangong aristocratic family, normally, he would not even bother with a golden core with a collateral lineage bloodline. But now that a beauty was by his side, he could not appear too cold and heartless, so he asked symbolically. Nan Gongyu smiled dryly with an embarrassed expression. Many years ago, I met you once. You must have forgotten about it.
Indeed, I don't remember.
The blue-robed man nodded.
The lively girl beside him burst into laughter. The white-robed woman glared at her. Thereafter, as though she realized that it was rude, the lively girl held back her smile and continued listening.
Nan Gongyu burst into laughter. The few nascent soul-old men were cautious as well and smiled awkwardly at the side. Is there anything? The blue-robed man asked.
Why, yes.
Nan Gongyu said hurriedly. My father might have been harmed by someone from Baiming town. I was wondering if you could exact justice for me and take revenge for this, Uncle Ling.
Might have.
The blue-robed man frowned.
Definitely.
Nan Gongyu changed his words hurriedly. It must definitely be someone from Baiming town. The blue-robed man was disinterested. There's no longer any clansmen left in the Baiming clan. Why would they try to kill your father at the risk of having their clan annihilated?
This.
Nan Gongyu hesitated for a moment and was stunned. The blue-robed man continued. In addition, the three aristocratic families have been suppressing the Baiming clan all these years. I remember that the Baiming clan no longer has many experts. How can they kill your father like this? The person who killed my father should be an outsider. Nan Gongyu said hurriedly. He's extremely mysterious and I can't tell his cultivation realm. He wears a set of green robes the entire time and seems like he's severely ill, like a down-and-out scholar. When she heard the words green robes, the white-robed woman was slightly stunned.
She lowered her head slightly with a dim expression as though she recalled something. Han Yen, what's wrong?
The blue-robed man noticed the white-robed woman's abnormality and asked with a voice transmission.
It's nothing much.
The white-robed woman shook her head gently. When he mentioned green robes, I thought of Granduncle Master. He loves to wear green robes as well. Unfortunately. She sighed. Don't be sad. The blue-robed man sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness and said gently, the heavens will bless Granduncle Master. He might not be dead after being exiled into the void. Towards the end, even he could not believe it himself as his tone weakened. Nan Gongyu continued, Uncle Ling, please help me take revenge. I'll definitely remember this favor and repay it with my life. Actually, requesting help from this Uncle Ling to take revenge was only one of Nan Gongyu's motives. More importantly, he wanted to make use of this opportunity to get closer to this person and increase his chances of integrating into the direct lineage in the future. The lively girl at the side could not help but say, if I were you, I would definitely take revenge personally if someone killed my father. If my cultivation right now isn't enough, I'll work harder. Sooner or later, I'll take revenge for my father personally. Nan Gongyu smiled embarrassedly with a flushed face and felt frustrated. However, he did not know the girl's identity and did not dare to refute rashly. The blue-robed man shrugged his shoulders as well and waved his hand. Just as she said, if you want revenge, do it yourself. Don't come looking for me. I'm not interested.
With that, he led the two women beside him towards the residence.
He was truly not interested. If he were to entertain every single collateral lineage clansman that sought him for help, he would probably be tired to death and would not be able to rest every day.
Furthermore, he had the company of a beauty. How would he be in the mood to bother about such things?
Additionally, the aristocratic family competition would be held in a few days. He had to bring his clansmen from the Nangong aristocratic family to participate and did not want to waste his time on such insignificant matters. Nan Gongyu was anxious.
Just as the blue-robed man was about to enter the residence and his opportunity was about to pass by in a flash, he had a stroke of inspiration and said, Uncle Ling, the reason why my father died is very likely because he discovered the secret of the Baiming aristocratic family.
The blue-robed man paused and frowned. This news was rather interesting. Secret? What secret?
The lively girl's eyes lit up with the flames of gossip as she asked hurriedly. The blue-robed man sent a voice transmission secretly. Legend has it that the ancient Biming clan guards a huge secret. However, no one has discovered it all these years. If nobody discovered it after so many years, it's probably fake. The lively girl was slightly disappointed and pouted her lips.
I'm not sure.
However, throughout history, most cultivators of the three aristocratic families have been willing to believe in that legend, the blue-robed man said. When Nan Gongyu saw the blue-robed man stop in silence, he realized that he had hit the nail on the head. He braced himself and continued. My father must have discovered this secret.
They must have killed him to silence him. Of course, that was Nan Gongyu's nonsense. However, the logic made sense. Furthermore, it involved the secret of the Biming clan. As such, the blue-robed man was intrigued. Should we go take a look? The lively girl instigated secretly. She did not care about revenge.
She was merely curious about that secret and could not contain her curiosity.
Han Yen, what do you think?
The blue-robed man turned and looked at the white-robed woman beside him, asking gently.
I'm okay with anything.
The white-robed woman smiled gently.
You're the host here. It's up to you. I'll just sit by and watch the show.
Let's go take a look then.
The blue-robed man decided.
In any case, there's still a few days before the aristocratic family competition. Let's head to Biming Town first to see what secrets there are.
Nan Gongyu was delighted.
The old men behind him beamed as well. No matter what, they were already closer to Uncle Ling. Bitch, let's see how you remain arrogant now. Nan Gongyu looked in the direction of Biming Town and grit his teeth slightly, sneering, Biming Xue, just you wait.
I'm back.
Chapter 1348, First Disciple. Chapter 1348, First Disciple.
Biming Town.
Sister, don't worry. I'm still at early stage golden core, but I've awakened my golden core phenomenon. I'll definitely shock everyone at this aristocratic family competition.
Biming Ao said confidently.
Cultivation was not easy. 2 years ago, Biming Ao was already at the early stage golden core and had even condensed a golden core phenomenon. However, he still could not break through within 2 years. Biming Xue smiled gently and helped Biming Ao tidy his collar before reminding, Little brother, don't underestimate any enemies during the aristocratic family competition. You must be extremely careful and prioritize your safety. In 3 years, Biming Ao had already grown into a 15-year-old youth and was almost as tall as Biming Xue. Biming Xue was already 18 years old and had grown increasingly elegant.
Sister, don't worry.
Biming Ao raised his fist and said in a deep voice, Given my combat strength, I can escape unscathed even if I can't defeat the other party. Pausing for a moment, a ruthless glint flashed through his eyes as he continued, Sister, don't worry. I'll definitely look for Dongfang Ji and take revenge for you.
There's no need.
Biming Xue shook her head. I'll deal with this matter myself.
Biming Ao was stunned.
He did not understand how his sister, who was already a cripple with a shattered golden core, could handle this matter on her own. In the past 3 years, he spent almost all his time in the main hall of the clan, cultivating with many of his peers in the town, and had not returned. Naturally, there were many changes to his body after 3 years. The strangest thing was that Biming Ao could vaguely sense that his sister seemed to have changed as well in an indescribable manner. Sister, the aristocratic family competition is in 3 days. I have to make a trip to the ancestral hall because the old clan leader has something to remind us about. Biming Ao stood up and bid farewell.
Go on.
Biming Xue nodded slightly and smiled.
Biming Ao turned to leave.
After leaving, he even glanced at Su Zimo, who was not far away, and harumphed coldly. For the past 3 years, Su Zimo had not left. Biming Ao's attitude towards him changed slightly as well. At the very least, he was not as hostile as he was initially. Mr. Su, aren't your injuries better yet? Biming Xue came before Su Zimo and asked in concern. Over the years, her cultivation grew and she became more energetic with exuberant blood qi. However,
Su Zimo looked the same the entire time. His face was withered and yellow without any improvement. Bai Mingxue was worried as well. Su Zimo smiled helplessly. The power of the life-severing curse was extremely difficult to deal with, and he could not remove it for the past 3 years. There was indeed a reason why the witch race was ranked among the primordial 9 races. There are many spirit items in the world. Are there any treasures that can cure you? Bai Mingxue asked again. I probably need the primordial divine spring, Su Zimo replied casually. Primordial divine spring. Bai Mingxue had a dazed expression. She had never heard of the term before. Su Zimo smiled. He had only mentioned it casually and naturally did not hope to obtain any news from Bai Mingxue. A moment later, she lowered her head slightly and whispered, Mr. Su, sorry to disappoint you. I still haven't cultivated to the final transformation. Su Zimo smiled and his gaze softened. You've already done well in your cultivation. Su Zimo nodded. Bai Mingxue was stunned and surprised. For the past 3 years, Su Zimo had been extremely strict to her and had never praised her as such. Su Zimo said, I was indeed not wrong about you being able to cultivate to the 8th transformation of the martial Tao in 3 years. It's extremely difficult to cultivate to the final transformation of the martial Tao. You might need some opportunities or pressure. It's not your fault. Right now, Bai Mingxue had already cultivated to the 8th transformation of the martial Tao, Indestructible Diamond. Su Zimo said, even without cultivating the final transformation of the martial Tao, your current combat strength is enough. Bai Mingxue clenched her fists and looked at her hands. Up till this point of her cultivation, she had yet to fight against true paragons of the Golden Core realm. Therefore, she did not know what level her combat strength could reach. There was no Golden Core phenomenon when one cultivated the martial Tao. Could she really fight against many ancient phenomenons with her physical body alone? A moment later, she suddenly raised her head and looked at Su Zimo with a conflicted expression. After 3 years of interaction, no matter how foolish she was, she could guess that Su Zimo had an extraordinary background. He was definitely a cultivator. Otherwise, how could an ordinary mortal have such a deep understanding of the martial Tao? Furthermore, Bai Mingxue was very smart. She vaguely guessed that Mr. Su's identity might be special and it was inconvenient to expose him. That was the reason why she did not press him for the past 3 years. However, she decided to do something today. Mr. Su, I was reborn 3 years ago because of your guidance. Bai Mingxue's gaze was resolute as she knelt down slowly and raised her head. I'm not an ungrateful person. If you don't mind, I'm willing to acknowledge you as my master and never abandon or betray you for life. If I violate this oath, the heavens and all mankind shall. Su Zimo shook his head gently and extended his palm, pressing it against Bai Mingxue's forehead to break her vow. Actually, I did intend to take you in as a disciple when I imparted you the martial Tao. Su Zimo replied, however, my identity is special. As my disciple, you will have to endure unimaginable dangers and calamities. That's the reason why I haven't mentioned this matter for the past 3 years. Bai Mingxue was fearless. I'm not afraid. I'm even worried that my status as a Bai Ming clansman might even implicate you. Implicate me? Su Zimo could not help but laugh. As a Bai Ming aristocratic family clansman, the worst possible outcome would be to face the 3 aristocratic families. However, what sort of enemies were he facing? Su Zimo said, how about this? I'll tell you my identity. Whether or not you want to acknowledge me as your master is up to you. Master, no matter who you are, I won't regret it. Bai Mingxue did not say anything more and kowtowed to Su Zimo. All right. When Su Zimo saw Bai Mingxue's decisiveness, he did not reject her further. He helped her up and said in a deep voice, since you've accepted me as your master, you're now my first disciple. I'll naturally do my best to ensure your safety. If Bai Mingxue did not become Su Zimo's disciple, he would have left today. He accompanied her here for 3 years and imparted the Tao to her. Although there was no master-disciple relationship, it could be considered as settling a karma. But now that he had taken in Bai Mingxue as his disciple, he could not leave casually. At the very least, he had to accompany her to the aristocratic family competition. Right then, Su Zimo's expression changed. As though he sensed something, he frowned and looked into the distant horizon. Somebody was here. Furthermore, they were hostile. Su Zimo guessed that there was a high chance it was someone from the Nangong aristocratic family. After all, the 3 nascent souls of the Nangong aristocratic family had died for so long. There was no way to hide it, and the Nangong aristocratic family would come knocking sooner or later. Su Zimo's expression turned cold as he said indifferently, "Baiming, stand behind me. I'll show you what I'm capable of." With that said, Su Zimo carried a chair and sat in the courtyard boldly with a calm expression, waiting for the Nangong aristocratic family to come knocking. Baiming Xue stood behind Su Zimo. For some reason, she felt a little excited. Chapter 1349. I'll let you die in peace today. Chapter 1349. I'll let you die in peace today. The skies above Baiming town. Nangong Yu and 3 nascent soul old men flew over on a gigantic spirit vessel with a murderous intent. Dermic powers rumbled around the 3 nascent souls with a rampant might. The moment they arrived in Baiming town, a series of exclamations sounded. Over the years, the Baiming clan had been declining. Most of the people from the 3 aristocratic families that came to the town to show off were juniors, foundation establishment cultivators and golden cores. Nascent souls rarely appeared. But now that 3 nascent souls had arrived, the pressure on the cultivators of Baiming town increased immensely. 3 nascent souls at the same time. They're definitely hostile. Those 3 nascent souls look murderous. I wonder why they're here. Blood will probably be spilled today. I wonder which family is the unlucky one. They seem to be heading for Baiming Xue's courtyard. Some Baiming clansmen discussed softly. Right then, many cultivators who were cultivating in the main hall of the clan sensed the commotion outside and came forth. Baiming Ao stood in the crowd and looked into the distance. His expression changed starkly. "Sister!" Baiming Ao exclaimed. He could clearly see that the gigantic spirit vessel in midair stopped above their house and 4 people walked down. Nangong Yu was one of them. The other 3 were nascent souls. Baiming Ao pushed through the crowd and charged over. However, he had barely run a few steps when his arm was grabbed by a withered palm. "Don't go over!" A skinny old man behind Baiming Ao shouted. "Clan leader, don't hold me back. Nangong Yu and the others are hostile. I have to go take a look." Baiming Ao was anxious and shouted. "There's no point in you heading over." The Baiming clan leader shook his head. "Your combat strength might be able to match Nangong Yu, but he has 3 nascent souls with him. Nascent souls can manipulate dermic powers and kill you with a single thought." "But that's my sister." Baiming Ao continued struggling. However, the Baiming clan leader was a nascent soul after all. He used his dermic powers as a thread to hold Baiming Ao back tightly and not let him pass. "Child, this matter is not simple." The Baiming clan leader looked into the distance and whispered. "Look over there, there are 3 other experts walking over. If I'm not wrong, the man from the Nangong aristocratic family in the middle should be at the Void Reversion Realm." Pest! The surrounding young cultivators gasped and their expressions changed. The Void Reversion Realm was truly out of reach for them. It could be said that a void reversion could annihilate Baiming town with a single thought, leaving no one alive. How long has it been since a void reversion has been in the town? What happened to alarm the void reversions of the Nangong aristocratic family? Baiming Xue is most likely doomed. I hope we won't be implicated. Some of the Baiming clansmen whispered with wary expressions. Baiming Ao's body trembled slightly and his eyes were bloodshot. The Baiming clansman sighed internally. Child, let's wait and see. If this void reversion wants to harm Baiming Xue, it's useless even if you rush over. You might even die there. If this void reversion expert has no intention of harming Baiming Xue, it's the same even if you don't go. Although that was the case, it was immense torture and pain for Baiming Ao to have to see his sister face Nangong Yu, nascent souls and even a void reversion alone. Baiming Ao's eyes were bloodshot and his breathing turned heavy. Gritting his teeth he said, "If anything happens to my sister, I'll definitely make them pay with their lives." At that moment, Nangong Yu and the 3 nascent souls had already descended and landed in Baiming Xue's courtyard. Because of the high wall, Bai Ming Ao and the others naturally could not see what was going on inside. However, the more that was the case, the more tormented Bai Ming Ao felt. Sigh, I hope that Bai Ming Xue will be blessed by the heaven. The Bai Ming clan leader sighed. In truth, he knew that it was definitely not a small matter if even a void reversion was alarmed. Bai Ming Xue was most likely doomed. Outside Bai Ming town.
The blue-robed man and the other two were in no hurry to enter Bai Ming town.
Instead, they stood on a cloud and looked down at the small town.
This is Bai Ming town?
The white-robed woman lamented. To think that even an aristocratic family that was comparable to you guys in the ancient era would end up in such a state. That's right. In such a small town, the strongest are nascent souls. What secrets can there be? The lively girl shook her head. Initially, she was looking forward to it. But now, this small town looked ordinary. The cultivators in the town were bullied by the three aristocratic families all year round. There was no vigor and it was lifeless. Han Yen, Xian, let's head over as well and see what's the background of that outsider.
The blue-robed man pointed in the direction of Nangong Yu and the others not far away.
Yes, the white-robed woman nodded. The three of them rode on auspicious clouds and floated towards Bai Ming Xue's courtyard in a flash. Before they arrived, the three of them looked down. The courtyard was not big and did not have many decorations. A green-robed man sat in the middle with an indifferent expression while a slender girl stood behind him. That girl is so beautiful. The lively girl could not help but exclaim. The moment she said that, the lively girl felt her legs give way and she nearly fell from the auspicious cloud. Senior brother Nangong, what are you doing? You can't even control the auspicious clouds at the sight of a beauty? Senior sister Han Yen, you've got to control him properly. The lively girl grumbled. However, no one replied. The air seemed to have frozen and the atmosphere turned strange. She turned around and saw the blue-robed man and white-bloused woman looking down in shock and disbelief. The blue-robed man's lips trembled as he stuttered, You. What? The lively girl followed their gazes and looked into the courtyard. When she caught sight of the green-robed man, she jumped up from her auspicious cloud in fright. In the courtyard. Arriving before Su Zimo, Nangong Yu swept his gaze across Su Zimo and Bai Ming Xue and sneered. No wonder you're so brazen, slut. So, you've found a helper. How should I address you, fellow Taoist? Nangong Yu asked eccentrically. Su Zimo replied calmly, My name is Su Zimo. Oh, I've never heard of you before. Nangong Yu shrugged with a disdainful expression. The three nascent soul old men reared their heads in laughter as well. A year ago, my father and two old servants died outside Bai Ming town. Do you know about this? Nangong Yu glared at Su Zimo and asked slowly. I killed them. Su Zimo said indifferently. Bai Ming Xue's heart skipped a beat. The three storage bags given to her by her master a year ago were indeed from the Nangong aristocratic family. You have a death wish. Initially, Nangong Yu wanted to test the waters. However, he had not expected Su Zimo to admit to it without hiding anything. Make way. Right then, a soft shout sounded from behind Nangong Yu.
The blue-robed man and the other two had already descended and were walking over quickly. Nangong Yu looked at Su Zimo as though he was looking at a dead man and said menacingly, Su Zimo, Uncle Ling is a void reversion that I invited.
I'll let you die in peace today. Chapter 1350. Grand Uncle Master? Chapter 1350. Grand Uncle Master. Void Reversion. Initially, Bai Ming Xue had immense confidence in Su Zimo. However, her heart skipped a beat when she heard that the intruder was a void reversion. Instantly, she turned nervous and glared at the blue-robed man fixedly. Void reversions were practically out of reach for her and were existences she had to look up to. This Uncle Ling had an extraordinary bearing. He was clearly a direct descendant of the Nangong aristocratic family. In Bai Ming Xue's opinion, no matter how strong Su Zimo was, he was probably not a match for a void reversion. In fact, she was prepared to take on everything. As she thought, the blue-robed man and the two women had already arrived before her with excited expressions. Suddenly, the blue-robed man paused and turned to look at Nan Gongyu beside him, asking slowly, "Who did you say you wanted to kill?"
Him.
Nan Gongyu pointed at Su Zimo with an arrogant expression.
You must have a death wish. The blue-robed man swung in reverse and hollered, slapping Nan Gongyu heavily on the cheek.
Piak! The power of that slap was so great that Nan Gongyu was sent flying from the spot. He rolled dozens of feet away and half of his cheek was swollen with his bones shattered. The change was extremely sudden. Even the tense Bai Ming-Xue was shocked, let alone Nan Gongyu, who was caught off guard. Her first reaction was that the other party had hit the wrong person. However, an even more shocking scene unfolded. The blue-robed man bowed deeply to Su Zimo and greeted respectfully, "Greetings, Granduncle Master." The three nascent soul-old men were dumbfounded and their jaws almost dropped to the ground. "Grand Uncle Master." Bai Ming-Xue blinked and her mind was in chaos. She had a calm personality and could maintain her composure even if her life was hanging by a thread. However, she had lost her composure at this moment. Could it be that this Uncle Ling had not only hit the wrong person, but recognized a wrong person as well? "Oh, Nan Gong Ling. It's you." Su Zimo glanced at the blue-robed man and said indifferently. The blue-robed man was the disciple of Tao Lord Scarlet Star, who was under extreme fire. Back when Su Zimo brought extreme fire back to 100 Refinement Sect, he came across Nan Gong Ling's group of 3 who was encircled by Hellfire Hall. Back then, Su Zimo had already sensed a pride in Nan Gong Ling's bones, as though he came from an extraordinary background. To think that he came from 3 aristocratic families. Behind Nan Gong Ling were Lu Hanyan and Ru Xian from the past. Given the seniority of Extreme Fire's lineage, Nan Gong Ling and the other 2 indeed had to address Su Zimo as Granduncle Master. "Greetings, Granduncle Master." Lu Hanyan's white robes fluttered as she walked forward as well. She suppressed the excitement in her eyes and bowed deeply. Ru Xian cared even less. She leaned forward and said in surprise, "Granduncle Master, it's great that you're still alive. We thought that something had happened to you and were sad for a long time." She was honest and straightforward, saying whatever she thought. Nan Gongyu had just struggled to get up from the ground and was stunned when he saw that. Uncle Ling addressed this man as Granduncle Master. What was the seniority of this man? Could Su Zimo be someone from the Nan Gong aristocratic family as well? Nan Gongyu's head hurt to begin with after being slapped. Now that he was confused, his entire head felt like it was about to explode. The 3 nascent soul-old men that followed him had ugly expressions. They did not think so much. All they knew was that if Su Zimo was Nan Gong Ling's Granduncle Master, they would have struck a steel board. Bai Ming-Xue was confused. She could tell that Nan Gong Ling and the other 2 did not greet Su Zimo ceremonially as they would towards elders. Instead, they had heartfelt respect and concern. Master's methods are truly amazing. They're totally unexpected and unpredictable. Bai Ming-Xue lamented internally. "Granduncle Master, why are you here in the South region?" Nan Gong Ling asked respectfully. "You should have told me beforehand that you were coming to the South region. I would have picked you up personally." He had truly submitted completely to Su Zimo. Back in the Middle Continent, Su Zimo saved their lives. Lu Hanyan looked at Su Zimo's expression and asked softly with a worried expression, "Granduncle Master, are you injured? You don't look well." "I can't activate my essence spirit because of the injury sustained in Heaven and Earth Valley. Right now, I can't use dermic powers either." Su Zimo replied casually without hiding anything. Bai Ming-Xue's heart skipped a beat as a thought flashed through her mind. Su Zimo's words earlier on seemed to have revealed an extremely important piece of information. However, that thought disappeared in a flash and she could not figure it out. "Granduncle Master, how do we resolve your injuries? What elixirs do you need? Tell me. I'll ask my family and definitely think of a way to get my hands on it." Nan Gong Ling said. Su Zimo shook his head. "There's nothing much I can do." The 3 aristocratic families definitely did not have the primordial divine spring. Otherwise, news of it would have long spread in the cultivation world. "Granduncle Master, what are you doing in Baiming Town? This is?" Nan Gong Ling's gaze landed on Bai Ming-Xue as he asked carefully. "This is my eldest disciple, Bai Ming-Xue. Su Zimo said indifferently. Ah! Nangong Ling was slightly stunned. However, he reacted quickly and bowed to Bai Mingxue hurriedly. Greetings, Aunt Master. The change earlier on was truly too fast and Bai Mingxue had yet to digest it completely. Now that a direct descendant of the Nangong aristocratic family, who was also a void reversion, bowed and greeted her, she was shocked. She turned slightly and waved her hand. Senior, there's no need for that. Greetings, Aunt Master. Right then, Lu Hanyan bowed to Bai Mingxue as well. Ru Xian shouted with a grin as well. Be it Lu Hanyan, Ru Xian or Nangong Ling, their statuses and cultivation realms were far above Bai Mingxue. Now that the three of them were bowing to her at the same time, she truly felt uneasy. It's fine. Su Zimo glanced sideways and nodded to Bai Mingxue. You're my eldest disciple, so you're naturally senior to them. There's no need to feel burdened. Just accept it. Bai Mingxue only adapted gradually after hearing Su Zimo's consolation. There's no need to stand on courtesy, everyone. Rise. Thank you, Aunt Master. Nangong Ling and the others bowed before standing up. In 100 Refinement Sect, etiquette and seniority were extremely important. Right then, Nangong Ling took out a shimmering silver inner armor from his storage bag and handed it to Bai Mingxue. Aunt Master, this is a defensive inner armor that I refined personally. It's a perfect grade spirit weapon. Please accept it. This gift is way too precious. Bai Mingxue blushed and declined hurriedly. Perfect spirit weapons were extremely rare in the cultivation world. Even cultivators of the three aristocratic families did not have many people who could possess perfect-grade spirit weapons, let alone her. At the side, Nangong Yu felt a sense of envy when he saw that. He had been in the Golden Core realm for so long but only possessed a supreme-grade spirit weapon. However, it was broken by Bai Mingxue. He did not even have a chance to obtain a perfect spirit weapon. Chapter 1351. Reduced to Ashes. Chapter 1351. Reduced to Ashes. Bai Mingxue looked at Su Zimo pleadingly. Accept it. Su Zimo nodded calmly. It was nothing much for his eldest disciple to accept a perfect-grade spirit weapon. His essence spirit could not be used and he could not open his storage bag. Otherwise, he would have been able to take out at least 10 connate spirit weapons from his storage bag. When she heard Su Zimo's words, Bai Mingxue took the silver inner armor. Even with her steady personality, her eyes revealed a hint of joy. The Bai Ming aristocratic family had a deep foundation as well. However, after being oppressed by the three aristocratic families all these years, their foundation had long been exhausted. The connate, perfect and supreme-grade spirit weapons passed down by the Bai Ming aristocratic family had long been snatched away by the cultivators of the three aristocratic families. Right now, it was already rare for cultivators of Bai Ming Town to possess a superior-grade spirit weapon. Lu Hanyan and Ru Xian took out 2 perfect-grade spirit weapons from their storage bags and handed them over. Bai Mingxue hesitated for a moment before taking them. Bai Mingxue looked at the 3 perfect spirit weapons in her hands and felt as though she was in a dream. It was surreal. Earlier on, she was still that inferior existence of the Bai Ming clan. But now, because she had taken Su Zimo as her master, even a void reversion of the Nangong aristocratic family had to address her respectfully as Aunt Master. Just who in the world is my master? A doubt flashed through Bai Mingxue's mind. We were on the same side the entire time. Senior, I'm also someone of the Nangong aristocratic family. Nangong Yu walked over warily. His cheeks were swollen and he could not speak clearly. However, he forced a smile. Greetings. Senior. I'm Nangong Yu. His reaction was extremely fast. When he saw that the situation was not right, he lowered his head hurriedly and bowed to Su Zimo. My surname isn't Nangong and I'm not from the Nangong aristocratic family. Su Zimo did not stand up and merely looked at Nangong Yu coldly. Nangong Yu's expression froze. Initially, he thought that Su Zimo must definitely be someone of the Nangong aristocratic family, as well since the latter was Nangong Ling's granduncle master. However, he made a huge mistake. Su Zimo's surname was Su and not Nangong. Even if you're not from the Nangong aristocratic family, You must be famous. I must have been blind to want to cause trouble for you. Please forgive me, Senior. Nan Gongyu smiled embarrassedly and lowered his head obediently. He could no longer care about his dignity and bowed down completely. That's right, that's right. The three nascent soul old men chimed in hurriedly. Perhaps you've heard of my Dao title as well. Su Zimo said indifferently, I'm Desolate Marshal. Desolate Marshal. Those two words seemed to possess a demonic power. The expressions of Nan Gongyu and the three nascent souls froze on their faces as endless fear and shock filled their eyes. Their bodies trembled slightly. There were truly not many people in the cultivation world who could scare cultivators with just a Dao title. Su Zimo was definitely one of them. Even the titular disciples of the super sects would shudder at the mention of Desolate Marshal, let alone Nan Gongyu, who was only at Golden Core Realm and the three nascent souls. Up till this point of his cultivation, Desolate Marshal had been treading on the corpses of various paragons and monster incarnates. Baiming Xue opened her mouth slightly with deep shock in her beautiful eyes. Desolate Marshal. Her master was the renowned Dao Lord Desolate Marshal of the cultivation world. It was no wonder why her master's understanding of the martial Dao was so thorough. It was no wonder why her master refused to reveal his identity and kept it a secret. It was no wonder why her master was worried that she would be implicated if he accepted her as a disciple. There was only a single reason. Her master was Desolate Marshal. The moment Baiming Xue heard that, apart from shock, there was no worries or fear in her heart. Instead, she was filled with joy and pride. Desolate Marshal wishes to establish a Dao and impart martial arts to all living beings. To begin with, she had immense respect for Desolate Marshal. No matter the rumors outside, Baiming Xue believed that Dao Lord Desolate Marshal had a magnanimity that no one else could match. His magnanimity surpassed that of any orthodox cultivator. Baiming Xue would be extremely satisfied even if she could meet Desolate Marshal once, let alone take him as her master. After saying that, Su Zimo did not say anything more. Suddenly, the entire courtyard fell into a dead silence. Nangong Ling lowered his head slightly with a cold glint in his eyes. He turned around and looked at Nangong Yu's group of four before saying slowly, "The four of you, you won't have to leave this courtyard today." Su Zimo did not say much. However, the moment he revealed his Dao title, Nangong Yu and the other three had to die. Right now, Su Zimo had already offended some super sects of the Immortal, Buddhist and Fiend sections. If they knew that Su Zimo was not dead, those super sects would definitely make a move. Furthermore, Su Zimo's combat strength was greatly reduced with his essence spirit injured. If Nangong Yu's group of four were to leave, it would be equivalent to planting Su Zimo in a dangerous place. Thud, thud. Nangong Yu and the other three knelt down one after another with pale faces. We're from the Nangong family after all and have the same blood flowing through our veins. Uncle Ling, please spare us. Uncle Ling, please show mercy. We won't say anything more after we leave. Nangong Yu bawled and was scared out of his wits. Nangong Ling's expression was calm and unmoved. The Nangong aristocratic family had 1,000 collateral lineages. As a direct descendant, he had no feelings towards these collateral descendants. In his heart, Su Zimo was much more important. Swoosh! A tricolored flame suddenly appeared in Nangong Ling's palm. The Samadhi Dao Fire. Nangong Ling had already obtained the legacy of Extreme Fire's lineage. Although his Samadhi Dao Fire was much weaker than Su Zimo's, it was more than enough to deal with Nangong Yu and the three nascent souls. The flames engulfed Nangong Yu's group of four instantly. Ah! Nangong Yu's group of four shrieked. Flames surged into the skies. In the blink of an eye, Nangong Yu turned into ashes. He was only a golden core and could not withstand the burning of the Samadhi Dao Fire. As for the three nascent souls, they only managed to hold on for a moment longer before they died completely. Their flesh and bones were burned to ashes by the Samadhi Dao Fire. As a direct descendant of the Nangong aristocratic family, Nangong Ling had joined 100 Refinement sect and experienced many storms. He had even followed Su Zimo and witnessed shocking battles such as the 1,000 Crane Tea Party. He was not a benevolent person to be able to cultivate to this point.
Baiming Xue stood behind Su Zimo and looked at the dust that was falling slowly in midair with a complicated expression as she lamented internally. Right from the beginning, Su Zimo had not stood up nor attacked. With just a few words, Nangong Yu's group of 4 were buried here. With a flip of his hand, he could create clouds and rain. Those were her master's methods.
Chapter 1352, Safe and Sound. Chapter 1352, Safe and Sound. Baiming Town, in front of the clan's grand hall.
Baiming Ao looked at the blazing flames in the courtyard far away and called out with a quivering voice, "Sister!"
He could no longer hold back his tears and they flowed instantly. When he saw that, Baiming Ao's first reaction was that his sister had already died in the sea of flames. The faint shrieks that came from the courtyard must be from that green-robed man with the surname Su. The Baiming clan leader shook his head as well and sighed deeply. The remaining Baiming clansmen looked fearful as well. Although they were far away, the energy fluctuation released by the Dao fire still made everyone's hearts palpitate. That was the power of a void reversion. "Child, my condolences." The Baiming clan leader looked at Baiming Ao and reminded, "Since things have come to this, you must not be reckless. Otherwise, you will definitely die as well." He said earnestly, "There's only hope if you're alive." Baiming Ao gradually stopped crying. It was as though he had grown a lot in an instant. "That's right, there's only hope if I'm alive." He clenched his fists with a cold expression. In the courtyard, Nangong Yu's group of 4 turned into ashes and only left 4 storage bags. Nangong Ling picked up the 4 storage bags and wiped away the spirit consciousness on them before handing them to Su Zimo without even taking a single look. "You can have them." Su Zimo glanced sideways and gestured for Baiming Xue to step forward. Baiming Xue had already gradually adapted to her identity. When she heard Su Zimo's words, she received the 4 storage bags and placed them into her own storage bag before thanking him. "Will you get into trouble for killing the 4 of them?" Su Zimo looked at Nangong Ling and asked. "Granduncle Master, don't worry. Nangong Yu is from a collateral lineage and merely has the surname of Nangong. No one will care about them." Nangong Ling said, "Furthermore, as a direct descendant of the Nangong aristocratic family, I have some status among the younger generation of the family." "Yes, that's good." Su Zimo nodded. Nangong Ling continued, "Don't worry, Granduncle Master. I'll definitely settle this matter properly, and no one from the Nangong family will cause trouble for you." Su Zimo asked, "Why are you back this time round?" Nangong Ling replied, "My family summoned me back to take part in the aristocratic family competition with my clansmen. I invited Han Yan and Xian Xian over to take a breather and explore." "What sort of people are those taking part in the family competition?" Su Zimo asked deeply, "Will the family masters of your 3 aristocratic families appear?" "No." Nangong Ling shook his head. The aristocratic family competition is only a fight between the younger generation of foundation establishment cultivators and golden cores. As for the family masters of the 3 aristocratic families, they are all conjoint body mighty figures. Naturally, they won't show themselves. Typically, the 3 aristocratic families send out their outstanding paragons to take part with their clansmen. This time round, I'm the commander of the Nangong aristocratic family. Su Zimo nodded slightly and asked again. The commanders of the Dongfang and Shiman aristocratic families are also void reversions. More or less. Nangong Ling said, "This is a fight between the younger generation after all. Even seniors with high cultivation realms won't show themselves. The presence of a void reversion is enough to control the situation." After a brief pause, he continued, "However, the aristocratic family competition this time round is at the Shiman Villa. Since it's an important place for the Shiman aristocratic family, there will definitely be some Dharma characteristic Dao lords. However, I'm not sure whether there will be any conjoint body mighty figures." Su Zimo nodded. If it was just Dharma characteristic Dao lords, they posed no threat to him. Even if his essence spirit was locked and he could not use Dharmic powers or Dharmic arts, it would be difficult for other Dharma characteristic Dao lords to injure him. It would be much more troublesome if there were conjoint body mighty figures. He could not injure a conjoint body mighty figure with his green lotus true body alone. Of course, Su Zimo had no intention of offending the three aristocratic families unless he had no other choice.
Nangong Ling could vaguely tell what he was implying and probed. Granduncle Master, are you intending to attack the three aristocratic families?
If Su Zimo had such plans, he would be in an awkward situation. On the one hand, he was a direct descendant of the Nangong aristocratic family. On the other hand, he was also a disciple of Extreme Fire's lineage. Su Zimo could tell Nangong Ling's worries and shook his head. You don't have to worry. I don't want to bother with the feud between the three aristocratic families and the Baiming clan. However, he changed the topic and said slowly, Baiming Xue is my disciple. Anyone who dares to bully her will be going against Desolate Marshal. Nangong Ling's heart skipped a beat as he nodded. Granduncle Master, I understand. Yes, there's nothing much. You guys can head back first. Su Zimo waved his hand. Granduncle Master, we've just arrived and have yet to speak much to you, but you're already chasing us away. Ru Xian pouted her lips and grumbled. Let's go. The aristocratic family competition is in a few days. Granduncle Master will definitely be there as well. Lu Hanyan pulled Ru Xian and smiled gently. Nangong Ling and the other two bowed to Su Zimo before turning to leave. In front of the clan's grand hall, Baiming Ao could no longer hold it in when he saw Nangong Ling and the other two speeding away on their auspicious clouds. He dashed home with a sorrowful expression. The Baiming clan leader followed closely behind, worried that something might happen to Baiming Ao. The remaining Baiming clansmen closed in as well. Bang! Baiming Ao pushed the door open and barged in. The moment he entered the courtyard, he was stunned and dumbfounded. Initially, he thought that his sister was already dead and Su was burned to ashes. However, he had not expected the two of them to appear alive before him. Su leaned on his chair with half-opened eyes and a relaxed expression. Baiming Xue stood behind him with a hint of joy on her face. This. Baiming Ao was a little stunned and could not snap out of his stupor. Some Baiming clansmen came over and looked inside as well, shocked. Baiming Xue was not dead. What the hell? If that was the case, who was the one screaming from the burn earlier on? The Baiming clan leader stood at the entrance with a stunned expression. Earlier on, Nangong Yu and the others came with a murderous aura and a void reversion was even invited. Yet, Baiming Xue was fine. This didn't make sense. The Baiming clan leader frowned slightly, feeling that something was amiss. Nangong Yu's group seemed to have vanished into thin air. The Baiming clan leader's gaze landed on some ashes in the courtyard and his pupils constricted as he thought of a possibility. However, that possibility was way too ridiculous. Would the Nangong aristocratic family kill one another? Sister, are you all right? Baiming Ao rushed to Baiming Xue and sized her up with a delighted expression. In fact, he could not help but reach out and pinch himself. Ouch! He grinned and laughed. It's not a dream. It's not a dream. Ha ha ha, my sister is fine. Baiming Xue looked at some Baiming clansmen at the entrance and said loudly, Sorry for worrying you clansmen, I'm fine. Thereafter she whispered, Little brother, let them disperse and go close the doors. I have something to tell you. All right. Baiming Ao was delighted when he saw that Baiming Xue was fine. Without thinking much, he rushed to the door and waved his hand. Everyone, disperse. My sister is fine. Chapter 1353, Gift. Chapter 1353, Gift. Sister, what happened? Baiming Ao closed the door and could not help but ask, Where's Nangong Yu and the others? They're gone. Baiming Xue replied ambiguously. If she were to tell the truth, it would be difficult to hide Su Zimo's identity. She was smart and was extremely cautious. She knew that Su Zimo's identity was sensitive and could not reveal it casually, even if this was her younger brother. Gone. Baiming Ao was puzzled. Baiming Xue changed the topic and asked, Little brother, the aristocratic family competition is about to begin. What's your weapon? Baiming Ao was delighted when he heard that and took out a flying sword from his storage bag. It was etched with 3 spirit patterns. It was a superior grade spirit weapon. Sister, look.
He said smugly. This was given to me by the old clan leader.
There aren't many superior-grade spirit weapons in the entire Baiming town. The foundation of the Baiming clan had long been snatched away by the three aristocratic families. Even the many cultivation techniques and secret manuals of the Baiming clan were snatched away by the three aristocratic families and their legacy was lost, let alone spirit weapons and dermic weapons. A superior-grade spirit weapon, that's not bad. Baiming Xue nodded. However, you will still be disadvantaged if you face golden cores of the three aristocratic families in the aristocratic family competition. Golden cores of the three aristocratic families would at least possess a supreme-grade spirit weapon if they could take part in the aristocratic family competition. It was normal for some peerless geniuses or monster incarnates that were groomed by their families to possess perfect or connate spirit weapons. For example, Dongfang Ji, who destroyed Baiming Xue's golden core, possessed two connate spirit weapons. One of the connate spirit weapons even belonged to the Baiming aristocratic family. It's fine. Baiming Ao gripped his fists gently. I have a golden core phenomenon. Even if I lose in terms of weapons, I'll definitely be able to obtain a good ranking. This time round, the old clan leader told me that if I can get into the top 100, he will raise a request to the three aristocratic families to permit me to leave Baiming town and explore outside. Once I leave the territory of the three aristocratic families, the skies will be the limit. Who knows, I might encounter some opportunity and soar immensely. Sister, don't worry. I'll definitely take you with me when that time comes. Baiming Xue felt her heart warm up and nodded. Thank you for your concern, little brother. She looked at Su Zimo and hesitated slightly. However, she still took out a flying sword and a silver inner armor from her storage bag and handed them over. Baiming Xue said, Little brother, take these two spirit weapons. They will increase your chances at the aristocratic family competition. Baiming Ao did not think too much about it and took them over, asking casually, Sister, where did you get your hands on these spirit weapons? After sweeping his gaze, Baiming Ao's expression changed slightly. He could clearly see that there were 5 spirit patterns etched on the flying sword. Could it be? He could not believe it and channeled spirit energy into it. Whoosh! The sword buzzed and trembled, shining brightly in a bedazzling manner. A perfect-grade spirit weapon. Baiming Ao exclaimed. His spirit energy entered the silver inner armor as well. Whoosh! A silver barrier burst forth from the inner armor and shone with 5 spirit lights. It was also a perfect-grade spirit weapon. This shocked Baiming Ao. Sister tis. He could not even speak coherently anymore. After all, he had not even touched a supreme-grade spirit weapon up till this point of his cultivation. He was overjoyed when the Baiming clan leader gave him a superior-grade spirit weapon. One could imagine the impact of seeing 2 perfect-grade spirit weapons right now. Baiming Xue was worried that Su Zimo would not agree to it. Therefore, she was a little hesitant. However, she still loved her younger brother in her heart. Worried that Baiming Ao might encounter danger at the aristocratic family competition, she took out 2 of the 3 perfect dermic weapons given to her by Nangong Ling and the other 2. However, right from the beginning, Su Zimo did not express anything and sat quietly at the side with closed eyes, seemingly unconcerned. Little brother, don't ask me about these 2 spirit weapons. I can't tell you. Baiming Xue could see Baiming Ao's confusion and shook her head. Although Baiming Ao was curious, he controlled himself. The only thing he knew was that his sister would not harm him. Putting away the 2 perfect spirit weapons, Baiming Ao looked at Su Zimo instinctively and could not help but extend his leg to kick the seat beneath Su Zimo. Hey, why are you still here? How many years has it been? He snapped. Baiming Xue's expression changed as she berated sternly, Little brother, don't be rude. Sister, I didn't say anything much. Baiming Ao murmured softly but was interrupted by Baiming Xue before he could finish. Little brother, apologize to Mr. She had a stern expression as she said slowly with a firm tone that was unquestionable. Baiming Ao had never seen his sister so stern. Although he was indignant, he was a little afraid as well and cupped his fists at Su Zimo reluctantly. Mr. Su, I'm sorry. Su Zimo had a calm expression and did not open his eyes the entire time, seemingly asleep. What was his identity? He would not hold it against Baiming Ao for such things. Biming Ao pouted his lips and looked at Su Zimo with even more disdain. However, due to Biming Xue, he retracted some sarcastic remarks he was about to make. Biming Xue waved her hand. All right, continue cultivating in the ancestral hall. Don't expose your perfect-grade spirit weapons for now.
Don't worry, sister. Biming Ao nodded and turned to leave without lingering. Master, will you blame me for giving away the 2 spirit weapons to my little brother?
Biming Xue pondered for a long time and whispered uneasily. Su Zimo opened his eyes and smiled, shaking his head. It's nothing much. It's just 2 perfect-grade spirit weapons. They're not incredible treasures either. His essence spirit was locked and he could not open his storage bag. Otherwise, any treasure he took out would far surpass a perfect-grade spirit weapon. Earlier on, Su Zimo was also considering what gift he should give Biming Xue. Right now, he was not at the same level as Dai Yu where he could give out universal treasures as gifts or alter one's fate. However, Biming Xue was his eldest disciple after all and he could not give her something too cheap. After a moment of silence, Su Zimo removed a string of Buddha beads on his left wrist and handed them to Biming Xue, saying indifferently, I've worn these Buddha beads for many years. Today, I'll give them to you. Thank you, Master. Biming Xue received the Buddha beads and examined them carefully but could not make out anything. There were no spirit patterns on the Buddha beads and there were no spirit chi fluctuations. They looked extremely old. Biming Xue did not think too much about it and wore the Buddha beads on her wrist casually. At that moment, she did not realize at all that the string of Buddha beads was the foundational treasure of a super sect in the cultivation world, the Mingwang prayer beads. Even conjoint body mighty figures would be tempted to fight to the death for those Buddha beads, let alone a golden core like her. Chapter 1354. Competition begins. Chapter 1354. Competition begins. As an important place of the Shiman aristocratic family, the Shiman villa was usually heavily guarded and outsiders were forbidden from entering. In the past 2 days, the Shiman villa suddenly became lively. That was because the competition between the 3 aristocratic families was about to begin. A day earlier, the paragons of the 3 aristocratic families arrived at the Shiman villa under the lead of their respective commanders to prepare for the competition. Naturally, the Shiman villa arranged accommodations for the cultivators of the Dongfang and Nangong aristocratic families as well as many spirit fruits and wine for them to consume. In a corner of the Shiman villa, everyone from the Biming clan was gathered. There were dozens of them. Su Zimo, Biming Xue and Biming Ao were among them. Sigh, our Biming clan has already fallen to such a state where we don't even have a place to settle down. Seems like we have to deal with this open-air place for the night. The 3 aristocratic families don't even care about us. Why would they arrange a place for us? Some Biming clansmen grumbled softly and sighed. The Biming clan leader frowned slightly and hollered softly, That's enough, we're here to take part in the aristocratic family competition. If you guys can obtain a good ranking, it'll be considered as giving the Biming clan face. Right then, a group of cultivators in brocade robes walked over from not far away, looking proud and arrogant. It's Dongfang Xian. Biming Ao could not help but grit his teeth when he saw the leader. The person beside Dongfang Xian is the monster incarnate of the Shiman aristocratic family, Shiman Jingrui. I heard that he's already engaged to Dongfang Ji and will become her Dao companion soon. It was common to see marriage between the 3 aristocratic families. Foo-foo. Before Dongfang Xian arrived, laughter sounded. Aren't those the legendary clansmen of the ancient Biming aristocratic family? How impolite of us. Dongfang Xian smiled gently with a mocking tone. The Biming clansmen lowered their heads and their faces reddened, but they did not dare to say anything. Dongfang Xian said pretentiously, Brother Jingrui, your Shiman aristocratic family is truly in the wrong this time round. Why are you guys so slow to even give them a place despite the fact that the Biming clan is an ancient aristocratic family? Biming aristocratic family. Jingrui was puzzled. Why haven't I heard of them before? There's only so few people in an ancient aristocratic family? Why aren't they as prosperous as even a collateral lineage of my Shiman aristocratic family? Sigh, perhaps they've already declined. Dongfang Xian sighed. However, even so, they were still an ancient aristocratic family. If they can be considered as an ancient aristocratic family just like that, wouldn't aristocratic families be everywhere? Shimin Jingrui shook his head. That won't do. Ha 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 ha. The aristocratic family cultivators behind the two of them roared in laughter brazenly. Joking one after another, the two of them did not take the Baiming clansmen seriously at all. Dongfeng Xian, Shimin Jingrui, don't be smug. Baiming Ao's expression was cold as he suddenly said, if you encounter me, Baiming Ao, at the aristocratic family competition, you'll definitely be disgraced. Hee hee. Shimin Jingrui sneered and could not be bothered with Baiming Ao. As a monster incarnate of the Golden Core realm, he could be considered as the #1 perfected being of the Shimin aristocratic family and could even match the paragons of the supersex. How could he take an early-stage Golden Core like Baiming Ao seriously? However, Dongfeng Xian's expression darkened as killing intent flashed through his eyes. Little beast, watch your words. Otherwise, I'll kill you right now. Private duels are forbidden within the villa before the competition even begins. Baiming Ao said coldly. Foo-foo. Dongfeng Xian sneered. That's between our 3 aristocratic families. However, cultivators of the Baiming clan are ants in our eyes. We can crush them easily. His words were not a threat. If he killed cultivators of the Baiming clan in the villa, nobody would punish him. There was no such thing as absolute fairness in the cultivation world. The prerequisite of fairness was that both parties had the same strength and status. Baiming Ao, stop it. The Baiming clan leader shouted hurriedly and bowed to Dongfeng Xian and Shimin Jingrui, smiling apologetically. Both of you are esteemed figures while Baiming Ao is still young and insensible. Please don't stoop to his level. Who told you to come out? Dongfeng Xian raised his brow and scolded coldly. Old thing scram. Get that low-life Baiming Ao to apologize to me personally. As a nascent soul, the Baiming clan leader's cultivation realm was above Dongfeng Xian. However, he could only endure being scolded by Dongfeng Xian and retreat with a sigh. It was as though he had aged considerably in an instant. Right from the beginning, Baiming Xue did not say anything. She had a cold expression and clenched her fists, still enduring. There was no way Su Zimo would attack. He would ignore something as such completely and allow Baiming Xue to handle it on her own. The only exception was if someone crossed his bottom line. Baiming Ao stood in the crowd motionlessly with fire flaring out of his eyes. Why, you're unwilling? Dongfeng Xian swept his gaze and grinned. If you don't apologize to me, all of your Baiming clansmen will suffer. Go apologize. It's nothing much. That's right. After all, you were the one who provoked him. It has nothing to do with us. Some of the Baiming clansmen could not withstand the pressure and whispered. Baiming Ao grit his teeth so hard that they cracked and his face turned green. Right then, a group of cultivators walked over from afar. They wore the robes of the Nangong aristocratic family and were rather striking. Their leader was the Golden Core paragon of the Nangong aristocratic family, Nangong Shi. Among the Golden Cores of this generation, the Nangong aristocratic family's Nangong Shi, the Dongfeng aristocratic family's Dongfeng Ji and the Shimin aristocratic family's Shimin Jingrui were lauded as the 3 great paragons. Among them, Nangong Shi was the most famous. What are you guys doing here? Nangong Shi walked forward and smiled at everyone, asking. You're just in time, brother Nangong. Dongfeng Xian said. These little beasts of the Baiming clan are foolish and have offended me. I'm about to teach them a lesson. Nangong Shi smiled gently. Unfortunately, I have something on as well. I'd like to invite 3 cultivators of the Baiming clan over to sit with me. With that said, he cupped his fists towards Baiming Xue and Baiming Ao. Fellow Taoists, follow me. Thereafter, Nangong Shi's gaze landed on Su Zimo. Also this mister, please follow me as well. Nangong Shi, what's the meaning of this? Dongfeng Xian's expression turned cold as he asked with a frown. Nangong Shi replied indifferently. Nothing much. I'm merely inviting 3 cultivators of the Baiming clan. Are you going to stop me? Brother Nangong, that's where you're wrong. Shimin Jingrui said, it's fine if you want to invite the 3 of them, but Baiming Ao has to apologize to Dongfeng Xian first before leaving. Oh. Nangong, she replied expressionlessly. Now, I truly don't agree with that. With that said, he nodded to Bai Ming-Xue and her brother before turning to leave with them. Su Zimo smiled calmly and followed behind. Dongfeng Xian and Shimin Jingrui had grim expressions, but they were wary and did not stop him. The Bai Ming clansmen revealed looks of envy. Chapter 1355. Three Great Commanders. Chapter 1355. Three Great Commanders. Naturally, Bai Ming-Ao was puzzled. Only Su Zimo and Bai Ming-Xue knew the reason why. Thank you, fellow Taoist Nangong. Bai Ming-Ao cupped his fists towards Nangong Shi and expressed his thanks. However, his eyes were still wary. One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. His first reaction was that the Nangong aristocratic family wanted to rope them in and obtain that non-existent secret. Nangong Shi smiled and was not bothered. Instead, his gaze lingered on Bai Ming-Xue and Su Zimo. All he received was an order to bring the three of them over. Furthermore, the commander of the Nangong aristocratic family, Nangong Ling, had given a clear order to not delay the three of them. However, Nangong Shi did not see anything special about the three of them. Bai Ming-Ao was not old and was a little rash. Bai Ming-Xue was outstanding and possessed an extraordinary aura. However, her golden core was shattered by Dongfeng Ji and she was now a cripple. 100 years of lifespan was fleeting. As for the green-robed man, he couldn't read this person at all. Nangong Shi shook his head. There were no traces of cultivation on the person, making him look like a mortal scholar. However, he did not seem uneasy in the territory of cultivators at the Shimin Villa. Instead, he was even more composed than the cultivators of the three aristocratic families, as though he was right at home. Nangong Shi brought the three of them to a residence and smiled. The three of you can rest here tonight. The competition will officially begin tomorrow. If there's anything, you just have to summon the servants of the Nangong family. With that said, he turned to leave. That's all. Bai Ming-Ao was puzzled. He was still pondering over the motive of Nangong Shi for saving them and how he should deal with it. In the end, the latter merely turned and left. Come in and rest. You have to rest well for tomorrow's competition. Bai Ming-Xue beckoned to Bai Ming-Ao. This was a side courtyard of the Shimin Villa. It was exquisite with fake mountains and flowing water, a spirit plantation with lush greenery and some servants of the Nangong family within. Even direct descendants of the Nangong aristocratic family lived in a similar environment. What's up with the Nangong family? Bai Ming-Ao was still puzzled. However, when he thought about the competition tomorrow, he suppressed his curiosity temporarily and began to rest, preparing for the upcoming battle. The next morning, the villa that had been silent for the entire night gradually became livelier. The Bai Ming clansmen spent the night in the open ground of the villa with a chilling wind. Although it was nothing much for cultivators, they were all dispirited. At that moment, Bai Ming-Xue and Bai Ming-Ao walked over. Having rested for the night, Bai Ming-Ao looked energetic and was filled with vigor. Let's go. The Bai Ming clan leader greeted and headed towards his clansmen, towards the center of the villa. The aristocratic family competition was set up in the center of the villa and was surrounded by a spectator area. The commanders of the three aristocratic families had seats and the rest of the clansmen stood to watch. The spectator area was in a circle and the center was where the fight was. The battlefield split into 10 gigantic raised platforms. At that moment, the spectator area was almost filled with people and voices. Cultivators of the three aristocratic families were already present. At a glance, they were dense and looked extremely spectacular. Meh. The Bai Ming aristocratic family sent people too? Fufu, in my opinion, they're here to embarrass themselves. Many cultivators burst into laughter with mocking expressions when they caught sight of the Bai Ming clansmen. There's no space here. Get lost. A cultivator of the Shimin aristocratic family hollered. Actually, there was an empty spot beside him that could accommodate more than 10 people. The Bai Ming clan leader sighed internally and did not argue. He led his clansmen to the other side. At his age, he no longer had the fervor to fight. He had expected such humiliation when they came to take part in the aristocratic family competition. "Everyone from the Baiming clan, come over." Nangong she beckoned to everyone from the Baiming clan. Su Zimo swept his gaze. On the side of the Nangong aristocratic family, Nangong Ling, Lu Hanyan and Ru Xian sat high and above in the spectator area with many spirit fruits and immortal peaches around them. Nangong Ling stood up hurriedly and wanted to walk towards Su Zimo. Su Zimo shook his head gently. It was only then that Nangong Ling stopped. "Isn't that Nangong Ling?" A chuckle sounded from afar as a cultivator of the Shiman aristocratic family arrived slowly in a gigantic carriage that hovered in midair. Many young and beautiful girls surrounded the carriage. The cultivator of the Shiman aristocratic family had a relaxed expression as he drank his wine and said coolly, "You've been out adventuring for many years. How have you been?" "Shiman Zhe." Nangong Ling raised his brow. Shiman Zhe was the commander of the Shiman aristocratic family this time round and hosted the aristocratic family competition. "Nangong Ling, you probably can't even recognize us anymore now that you're in 100 Refinement sect of the 4 unorthodox groups, huh?" A void reversion of the Dongfang aristocratic family flew over with an unfriendly expression. Dongfang Yi, the commander of the Dongfang aristocratic family this time round. The three of them were considered as cultivators of the same generation, and had known one another since they were young. However, Nangong Ling headed to the Middle Continent to train and cultivate, joining 100 Refinement sect thereafter. As for Shiman Zhe and Dongfang Yi, the two of them remained cultivating in the aristocratic families. As such, their paths varied. However, they were all elites of the same generation after all. Now that they were all at the Void Reversion realm, they were famous outside. Although what happened the previous night was only a small conflict between the juniors, Dongfang Yi and Shiman Zhe had already received the news. Therefore, their tones were sarcastic the moment they met Nangong Ling today. Nangong Ling smiled faintly and ignored the two of them. Standing in the crowd, Su Zimo could not use his spirit consciousness and merely surveyed his surroundings with his vision and hearing. As Nangong Ling had said, there were no cultivators with high cultivation realms in this aristocratic family competition. The commanders of the three aristocratic families, Shiman Zhe, Dongfang Yi and Nangong Ling, were all at the Void Reversion realm. Apart from them, there were also some Void Reversions. However, Su Zimo could sense that there were definitely Dharma characteristic Dao lords in this villa. As for conjoint body mighty figures, he could not detect them yet. Actually, Su Zimo was not interested in the aristocratic family competition at all. He was here because he was worried about Baiming Xue. Because Baiming Xue was his eldest disciple, he could not just leave her be. At the very least, he would only leave after this matter was over. The sect competition had already begun. The Foundation establishment cultivators of the various aristocratic families ascended the stone platform one after another to fight in pairs. A few Foundation establishment cultivators from the Baiming aristocratic family came forward as well. But soon, the Baiming aristocratic family clansmen were defeated by cultivators of the three aristocratic families. They only cleared 2 rounds at most before being swept away. The Baiming aristocratic family did not have any cultivation technique manuals, spirit weapons or elixirs. As for the cultivators of the three aristocratic families, they had countless resources and guidance from their experts. The difference in strength between them was immense. Each time the Baiming aristocratic family was defeated, a series of mocking laughs would echo from the crowd. "Little brother, don't be nervous. Given your strength, you can definitely make it to the top 100. Baiming Xue consoled him softly. "All right." Baiming Ao nodded. The Foundation Establishment Cultivator competition ended before noon. Immediately after was the fight between the Golden Cores. Chapter 1356. Attack. Chapter 1356. Attack. The Baiming clan did not have many Golden Cores taking part in the fight. Including Baiming Ao, there were only 3 of them. A few years ago, Baiming Xue's Golden Core was crippled and she lost her rights. All these years, she cultivated the martial Dao wholeheartedly and did not take the initiative to mention this matter. Bai Mingshui's gaze passed through the crowd and landed on a cold and arrogant woman from the Dongfang aristocratic family. Dongfang Ji. A few years ago, Dongfang Ji was the one who snatched her treasure and even destroyed her golden core. She had never forgotten about that matter. Although she did not take part in the aristocratic family competition today, she would definitely settle this matter with Dongfang Ji. As though she sensed something, Dongfang Ji glanced sideways and exchanged glances with Bai Mingshui. Her lips curled with disdain. In her eyes, Bai Mingshui was a cripple and was no longer worthy of her attention. The Golden Core competition began. The other two Bai Ming clansmen were quickly defeated by their opponents. As for Bai Ming Ao, he swept through and defeated 3 opponents before entering the 4th round. Initially, nobody noticed Bai Ming Ao. However, after clearing the 7th round in front of Bai Mingshui, he finally attracted the attention of the 3 aristocratic families when there were less than 100 remaining opponents. This meant that Bai Ming Ao was now in the top 100 of this Golden Core competition. To think that such a character would appear in the Bai Ming clan. How rare! The commander of the Shiman aristocratic family, Shiman Zhe, narrowed his eyes with a cold glint. It's nothing much. Dongfang Yi replied indifferently. He will definitely go against Dongfang Xian. At that time, Dongfang Xian can suppress him with ease and cripple him. Time quickly passed. The Bai Ming clansmen became increasingly nervous as they watched Bai Ming Ao fight on the stone platform fixedly. Right now, he had less than 20 opponents remaining. Bai Ming Ao is victorious. An aristocratic family cultivator declared loudly. On the stone platform, Bai Ming Ao panted slightly. Although he was drenched in sweat from the consecutive fights, he still looked extremely excited. Earlier on, at the most critical moment, he had to use the perfect grade flying sword Bai Mingshui gave him to defeat his opponent. Right now, he was ranked 20th. If he were to stop while he was ahead and admit defeat, he could still obtain immense rewards and might even be able to raise a request to the 3 aristocratic families for an expedition outside. However, Bai Ming Ao did not want to withdraw just like that. That was because Dongfang Xian would be his next opponent. He wanted to defeat Dongfang Xian openly. Little cub, seems like I've been too lax in looting you guys over the years. To think that you would have a perfect spirit weapon with you. Dongfang Xian leaped onto the stone platform and said darkly, if you hand over that perfect spirit weapon now, I might spare your life. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Dongfang Xian, cut the crap. Accept the challenge. Bai Ming Ao hollered and waved his sleeves, summoning a perfect grade flying sword. He took the initiative and his flying sword transformed into a streak of light, piercing towards Dongfang Xian. Humph! Dongfang Xian's expression turned cold as he swiped his storage bag and summoned a perfect grade flying sword as well, slashing forward. Clang! Sparks flew as the 2 perfect grade flying swords collided. Bai Ming Ao's expression changed slightly. He had expended a lot of stamina in the consecutive battles. Furthermore, he was only at early stage Golden Core while Dongfang Xian was at late stage. The difference between them was 2 minor realms. Bai Ming Ao clearly felt a little powerless in this head-on clash. Clang, clang, clang. Both of their flying swords fought with speed and it was clear that Dongfang Xian was stronger. His sword techniques were complex, unrestrained and beguiling. However, Bai Ming Ao did not cultivate any brilliant sword-wielding techniques. Back and forth, he merely utilized some basic sword arts. Before long, Bai Ming Ao was completely suppressed by Dongfang Xian. Golden Core Phenomenon. Finally, Bai Ming Ao could not hold on any longer and released his power of phenomenon. A boundless ocean appeared behind him, emitting a cold aura as the surrounding temperature dipped. It's Bai Ming Ocean. After so many years, someone has finally cultivated the legacy phenomenon of the Bai Ming aristocratic family. Cries of surprises came from the crowd. Spectator area. Shiman Zhe and Dongfang Yi had indifferent expressions and were nonchalant. As void reversions, they were sharp and could naturally tell that Bai Ming Ao was at the end of his rope. Even if he summoned Bai Ming Ocean, he would not be able to hold out for long. Eastern Purple Qi. Dongfang Xian hollered and released his Golden Core phenomenon as well. A purple chi appeared behind him and shone brightly, charging towards Biming Ocean with a powerful phenomenon. Boom! The purple chi surged into Biming Ocean and created raging tides instantly. The seawater splashed. Biming Ao's face was pale as his phenomenon swayed. It was on the brink of collapse. It was not because his golden core phenomenon was not strong enough, but because his spirit energy was thoroughly exhausted and he could not withstand that head-on collision. Admit defeat. The Biming clan leader shouted hurriedly. The Biming clan has admitted defeat. Sparring was still the main focus for the fights of the aristocratic family competition, and there would rarely be fights to the death. As long as one party would admit defeat, the other party wouldn't be ruthless. However, Dongfeng Xian was unmoved by the shout of the Biming clan leader. Instead, his eyes were filled with killing intent as he said coldly, "It's too late to admit defeat now. This lad is arrogant and conceited. I'll cripple him today as a warning to others." Boom! Dongfeng Xian channeled his golden core to its limits and purple chi surged, bursting through Biming Ocean and landing on Biming Ao's chest. Whoosh! In a flash, a silver light shone from Biming Ao's chest and blocked most of the power of the golden core phenomenon. Even so, Biming Ao was sent flying far away and spat out a mouthful of blood with a dispirited expression. If not for the silver inner armor Biming Xue gave him, he would have been a dead man by now. Another perfect-grade spirit weapon. The Biming clan sure has a strong foundation. To think that two perfect spirit weapons would appear in Biming Ao's possession. He didn't die. Dongfeng Xian's expression turned cold as he leaped up. Purple chi shrouded his body as he chased after Biming Ao, who was outside the stone platform. Biming Ao has already admitted defeat and fell from the stone platform. You can't kill him anymore. The Biming clan leader stood out and shouted. Old thing, you had better not interfere. A nascent soul of the Dongfeng aristocratic family said slowly, the rules of the aristocratic family competition are only targeted at our three aristocratic families. Who do you think the Biming clan is? Dongfeng Xian caught up to Biming Ao before the latter even landed on the ground. Little cub, let's see who can save you today. The power of phenomenon behind Dongfeng Xian surged and smashed towards Biming Ao. All of a sudden, a figure appeared before Biming Ao like a phantom. It was Biming Xue. She extended her palm slowly and clenched it into a fist, punching towards Dongfeng Xian as she said coldly, "Get lost." Chapter 1357. Enlightenment. Chapter 1357. Enlightenment. Biming Xue. That woman's golden core is crippled. Is she looking to die? Everyone from the Biming aristocratic family are indeed idiots. Against Dongfeng Xian's golden core phenomenon, even low-level spirit weapons would be shattered, let alone a body of flesh and blood. Many cultivators burst into laughter when they saw that. Of course, there were still some people who did not laugh. Su Zimo's expression was indifferent as he watched everything quietly. At the spectator area, Nangong Ling, Lu Hanyan and Ru Xian did not laugh either. That was because they knew that Biming Xue was the disciple of Granduncle Master Desolate Marshal. The eldest disciple. To their understanding, Granduncle Master Desolate Marshal was someone extremely protective. Since she was his eldest disciple, Granduncle Master would definitely value and love her even more. In the cultivation world, cultivators had a long lifespan and by the end of their cultivations, they would most likely not have any kin remaining. Therefore, many a times, the relationship between master and disciple was even more important than bloodline clansmen. Even with his essence spirit injured, Granduncle Master protected Biming Xue and arrived at the aristocratic family competition. It was clear how much he valued this eldest disciple. Who was Desolate Marshal? The #1 monster incarnate in history. There was no way his eldest disciple was ordinary. Biming Xue looked a little frail and there was no spirit energy fluctuation in her body. Against Dongfeng Xian, who had a torrential aura and ferocious spirit energy, she was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Biming Xue's fist collided with Dongfeng Xian's purple chi. Boom! The ferocious purple chi dissipated instantly. Dongfeng Xian was stunned and shuddered as though he was struck by lightning. He flew back at an even faster speed and landed heavily on the stone platform. Poof! Dongfang Xian spat out a mouthful of blood with a pale expression. His tendons and bones felt like they were about to split as he laid on the ground and shrieked. More than half of his body was crippled and he could not even stand up, let alone fight. The seemingly tiny mantis managed to shatter the war chariot. It was just a single punch. The laughter in the spectator area had yet to stop. However, the battle was already over. The expressions of the cultivators gradually froze as they opened their mouths slowly with eyes widened in disbelief. Dongfang Xian was defeated. Furthermore, he was defeated by a single punch from the cripple, Baiming Xue. Even Dongfang Xian's golden core phenomenon was shattered by Baiming Xue's body. How was that possible? Even the Baiming clansmen were dumbfounded, let alone the cultivators of the three aristocratic families. Naturally, Su Zimo was not surprised by that. Furthermore, he could tell that Baiming Xue did not use her full strength. If she released her full strength, Dongfang Xian would be torn apart by her punch and die on the spot, let alone his golden core phenomenon. Piak! Dongfang Ji slapped the table and stood up, barking coldly with a cold expression. Bitch! Martial Dao! Shimin Zhe swept his gaze across Baiming Xue and frowned slightly as he murmured. The only way one would not possess spirit energy fluctuations was if they cultivated the martial Dao. However, how could the power of the martial Dao be so strong? Sister you! Baiming Ao was shocked. He was right behind Baiming Xue and had a deeper understanding of the collision earlier on. He seemed to be able to sense the raging Baiming ocean within her body. He had not expected that his crippled sister would be able to release such a terrifying power after a few years. Could this be the power of the martial Dao? Suddenly, Baiming Ao realized that he could no longer read his sister. Dongfang Ji said coldly, "Are you guys blind? This slut has already broken the rules of the competition by attacking without permission. Suppress her and kill her in public." Nangong Ling sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness expressionlessly. Nangong she understood and chuckled before standing out. "I don't think Baiming Xue is to blame for this. The one who broke the rules of the competition was not Baiming Xue, but your younger brother, Dongfang Xian." Firstly, Dongfang Xian was unwilling to stop even though Baiming Ao had already admitted defeat. Secondly, even after Baiming Ao was out of the stone platform, Dongfang Xian continued hunting him beyond its radius. Anyone can attack outside the radius of the stone platform. To be blunt, if I was the one who attacked earlier to suppress Dongfang Xian, it wouldn't have been considered as breaking the rules. Nangong Shi Yu. Dongfang Ji frowned with a frosty expression. Those two were the strongest monster incarnates among the three aristocratic families. Including Shimin Jingrue, the three of them should be the top three of this golden core competition. The three aristocratic families had always been on good terms. Dongfang Ji was even engaged to Shimin Jingrue through marriage. Nobody expected Nangong Shi and Dongfang Ji to fight because of Baiming Xue. Could it be that Nangong Shi had a crush on Dongfang Ji? Is he jealous because she is engaged to Shimin Jingrue? Impossible. I'm guessing that Nangong Shi might be involved with Baiming Xue. Although Baiming Xue has a low status, she's extremely beautiful. The two of them look like a golden couple. Even though they were cultivators, they could not help but gossip. Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi looked at Nangong Ling, who was not far away. Nangong Ling's expression was unchanged as he looked straight ahead. Both of them sneered internally. Naturally, the three commanders would not appear for such a small matter. Nangong Shi, what are you trying to do? Shimin Jingrue could not help but stand out with a terrible expression. Nothing much, I'm just stating the facts. Nangong Shi spread his hands with an innocent expression. I'll remember this matter first. Dongfang Ji nodded and looked deeply at Nangong Shi before turning to Baiming Xue. In a flash, she arrived on the stone platform. She did not conceal the killing intent in her heart as she said slowly, "Bitch, I destroyed your golden core 4 years ago. Now, I'll give you a chance. I'll let you have a fair fight against me in this aristocratic family competition." Baiming Xue glared at Dongfang Ji fearlessly with a cold expression. She had waited for this day for a long time. She turned to look at Su Zimo. Su Zimo smiled faintly. Go on. The martial Tao allows one to exact revenge and repay gratitude as they please. It wouldn't matter even if you pierce through the heavens today. Bai Ming Xue was filled with pride and no longer had any reservations. If anybody else made her such a promise, she would have been skeptical. However, if her master said something like that, she believed that he would defend her even if the sky collapsed. That was because her master was Desolate Marshal. He was Tao Lord Desolate Marshal who was renowned throughout the world and established his Tao for the masses. Instantly, Bai Ming Xue was enlightened.
In fact, even her cultivation that was stuck at the 8 transformations of the martial Tao had loosened slightly at this moment.
She could sense the aura of the dragon elephant force. Bai Ming Xue turned around and walked towards the stone platform with a burning gaze. Her footsteps were firm and at that moment, her martial Tao will reached its peak. It was unshakable. Under the envelopment of that will, Dong Fengji suddenly felt a sense of pressure. On the stone platform, Bai Ming Xue walked towards Dong Fengji step by step. With every step she took, her aura would increase by a fraction. However, the pressure on Dong Fengji would increase as well. Chapter 1358. A Punch and a Sword. Chapter 1358. A Punch and a Sword. What powerful blood qi! At the spectator area, Dong Fengyi narrowed his gaze. Shimin Zhe nodded as well. Bai Ming Xue's bloodline has probably already cultivated to the lead Mercury amalgam blood realm. Among the 3 aristocratic families, the Shimin aristocratic family had the strongest body tempering. However, even for Shimin Jingrue who was at Golden Core realm, he only cultivated to the lead Mercury amalgam realm with the help of many resources. Dong Fengji's heart skipped a beat. As the most outstanding successor of the Dongfeng aristocratic family at the Golden Core realm, she made the right judgment right away and retreated to keep her distance from Bai Ming Xue. She could not engage Bai Ming Xue in melee combat. The martial Tao was to constantly develop one's potential and temper their bodies. Those who cultivated the martial Tao were extremely strong in melee combat. Go! Dong Fengji slapped her storage bag and waved her sleeves, causing a silver spear to appear before her. The spear quivered and shone with 6 spirit patterns in a bright light. Connate Dermic Weapon, Heavenly Essence Spear. Cultivators of the Dongfeng aristocratic family rarely used swords. Most of them used spears. While a spear was weaker than a flying sword in terms of agility, it was stronger than a flying sword in terms of strength. Under Dong Fengji's control, the Heavenly Essence Spear transformed into a silver streak of light and arrived before Bai Ming Xue at an astonishing speed. In terms of speed and burst power, connate weapons were the limit. Without much movement, a cold shimmering sword had already appeared in her hands. The sword quivered and 5 spirit patterns lit up. A perfect spirit weapon. That sword was the perfect spirit weapon Lu Hanyan gave Bai Ming Xue. Bai Ming Xue has a perfect spirit weapon as well. The Bai Ming family sure has some good stuff. Many cultivators revealed looks of envy. Bai Ming Xue suddenly attacked and slashed with her sword. Clang! Sparks flew when the sword struck the Heavenly Essence Spear. Normally, a connate spirit weapon would definitely gain the upper hand in a clash between perfect and connate spirit weapons. However, Bai Ming Xue was way too strong. The sword quivered and sent the Heavenly Essence Spear flying when it slashed down. Boom! Bai Ming Xue strode forward and stomped heavily on the ground, arriving before Dong Fengji instantly like an arrow that was released from a bow. It was too fast. With the burst of Bai Ming Xue's body and bloodline, she covered a distance of more than 100 feet instantly. Bai Ming Xue's expression was cold as she raised her sword and stabbed. Before the sword even arrived, a chilling sharpness was already released. Dong Fengji actually felt a slight sting on her glabella. Trap! Dong Fengji's reaction was extremely fast when she saw that she could not retrieve the Heavenly Essence Spear in time. She conjured a hand seal and released the legacy spirit art of her aristocratic family. Strange vines and branches grew from the stone platform beneath Bai Ming Xue and coiled around her body and limbs. The Dongfeng aristocratic family specialized in wood spirit arts. As a golden core paragon of the Dongfeng aristocratic family, Dong Fengji was even more well-versed in this Tao and conjured her spirit art in the blink of an eye. Those vines and branches were no ordinary plants. With the augmentation of Dong Fengji's spirit energy, they were not weaker than spirit weapons. Furthermore, there were spikes on the vines that could pierce a cultivator's flesh. After releasing the spirit art, Dong Fengji seized the opportunity to retreat and distance herself from Bai Mingxue once more. Humph! Bai Mingxue sneered. She cultivated the martial Tao and was already at the 8th transformation, Indestructible Diamond. Her body was already invulnerable to fire, water and weapons. Even true spirit weapons could not hurt her, let alone the vines conjured by spirit energy. Bai Mingxue struggled. Crack, crack, crack. The moment the vines coiled around her, Bai Mingxue broke free and gave chase once more. Clang, clang, clang. She slashed in succession. Dong Fengji blocked Bai Mingxue's sword with her precise movement techniques and spear techniques. However, she was completely disadvantaged. Bai Mingxue did not have many sword techniques, but with her martial Tao true body as a foundation, the speed and power of each sword strike were pushed to the limits. She was overwhelming everything with brute force. No matter how precise Dong Fengji's moves were, she could not defend against Bai Mingxue's sword. Bai Mingxue's strength is a little terrifying. To think that she would be able to reach such a realm in the martial Tao. I wonder how many transformations Bai Mingxue has cultivated. The crowd whispered, nobody expected this outcome. She's merely relying on brute force. Shimin Jingrui sneered, everyone knows that one doesn't have any spirit energy if they cultivate the martial Tao, so they can't condense golden core phenomenons. That's the greatest advantage we cultivators have. Dong Fengyi sat high above with a calm expression and was not worried. No one was clearer than him about Dong Fengji's strength. This battle would end the moment Dong Fengji released her golden core phenomenon. Bai Mingxue, you're very good to be able to force me to this extent. Dong Fengji's golden core circulated slowly and her spirit energy surged. A purple qi appeared behind her and shone brightly. Golden core phenomenon, Eastern purple qi. Although it was the same phenomenon, the power of Dong Fengji's phenomenon was clearly many times stronger than Dong Fengxian's. It was not over yet. Suddenly, another powerful energy fluctuation appeared behind Dong Fengji. Another phenomenon rose. Many plants appeared behind Dong Fengji and transformed into ferocious soldiers that charged towards Bai Mingxue. Golden core phenomenons, Flora myriad weapons. Dong Fengji had managed to cultivate 2 golden core phenomenons. The crowd was in an uproar. Even Nangongshi had a grim expression. Even he was not confident of winning against Dong Fengji, who had 2 golden core phenomenons. It's over. Dong Fengji rose slowly and 2 golden core phenomenons circled around her. Her aura had already climbed to its peak as she looked down at Bai Mingxue. Bitch, it's useless even if you admit defeat now. Her voice was cold. She had intended to use her 2 phenomenons to deal with Nangongshi. To think that she would have to use them prior to that. 2 phenomenons. Bai Mingxue had a calm expression without any fear or surprise in her eyes. Indeed, it's time to end things. She said indifferently, however, I'm not the one who will admit defeat. Before her sentence was finished, Bai Mingxue channeled her blood qi with all her might. Splash! Her blood qi surged and a deafening tsunami sound echoed from her body. Tsunami blood. Cries of surprises came from the crowd. Even Shimin Zhe and Dong Fengyi were shocked. All of them were void reversions and knew very well how difficult it was to cultivate to the tsunami blood realm. It was even rarer than golden core phenomenons. There were many people in the cultivation world who could condense golden core phenomenons. However, there were very few cultivators who could cultivate tsunami blood. Boom! Bai Mingxue did not retreat or dodge Dong Fengji's 2 golden core phenomenons. Instead, she strode forward and soared into the air. She threw out a punch with her left hand. In her right hand, her sword was shrouded by layers of martial Tao astral qi that was indestructible as she slashed out. Her blood qi surged as though a tsunami was surging within her. Boom! Poof! A punch and a sword. The purple qi dissipated and the soldiers were beheaded. Right in front of everyone, the two golden core phenomenons that Dong Fengji had just conjured were destroyed by Bai Mingshue's punch and sword. The place fell into an uproar. Chapter 1359. Don't mess with her. Chapter 1359. Don't mess with her. Every single person with a double phenomenon was a peerless paragon. In this generation, there were less than a handful who could cultivate a double phenomenon. The most famous double phenomenon came from the monster incarnate of Chaos Essence sect, Yin. He cultivated the legacy phenomenon of the human emperor, Chaos Ocean. Thereafter, he fused with the world-cleansing green lotus of the Buddhist monasteries and surpassed the human emperor, forming an unprecedented chaos green lotus phenomenon. However, Yin's brilliance was completely overwhelmed by someone else during the previous phenomenon ranking. The legendary Dao Lord Desolate Martial cultivated 3 unprecedented golden core phenomenons and dominated the phenomenon ranking. He overwhelmed everything and suppressed 2 primordial races, shocking the world. That battle also made Desolate Martial famous. The cultivators of the 3 aristocratic families were shocked when they saw Dong Fengji cultivate a double phenomenon. The cultivators of the Dongfang aristocratic family were even more invigorated. They thought that their family clan had given birth to a peerless paragon that was comparable to Yin and Desolate Martial. However, the excitement in everyone's eyes turned into shock the moment they saw what happened next. 2 golden core phenomenons were shattered by Bai Mingshue's sword and fist. How was that possible? Could one truly release such a terrifying power after cultivating the martial Dao? Even the commanders of the 3 aristocratic families, Shimen Zhe, Dongfang Yi and Nangong Ling were shocked, let alone the golden cores and nascent souls present. Nangong Ling, Lu Hanyan and Ru Xian knew that Bai Mingshue was Su Zimo's eldest disciple and were long prepared. Even so, the 3 of them gasped when they saw that. Bai Ming-ao stood in the crowd and was completely stunned. Prior to this, he belittled the martial Dao and even mocked his sister for cultivating it because it had no golden core phenomenon. But now, the power released by Bai Mingshue's body and bloodline was something that a golden core phenomenon could not withstand. 2 golden core phenomenons were destroyed by a single punch from her. For the past 3 years, Bai Ming-ao cultivated painstakingly in the main hall of the clan without slacking off at all. However, he had not expected that he would fall so far behind Bai Mingshue in just 3 years. The difference between them was getting wider. Is this the power of the martial Dao? How many transformations has Bai Mingshue cultivated too? Before this, there were also people who cultivated blood qi golden cores, but their strength was definitely not so terrifying. I reckon that Bai Mingshue has already broken through to the 7th transformation of the martial Dao, astral infusion. That's right. When she attacked earlier on, her fist and sword were shrouded by a unique power. That should be astral qi. Instantly, a commotion broke out in the crowd. Naturally, Su Zimo was not surprised by that. His essence spirit was damaged and he looked listless the entire time, as though he was lethargic and his eyes were about to close. However, nobody knew better than him how terrifying the martial sutra was. Among the 9 transformations of the martial Dao, in the later 3 transformations, every single one was a leap in quality and brought about a complete transformation. Right now, Bai Mingshue was at the 8th transformation of the martial Dao, Indestructible Diamond. If Yin was reborn at the Golden Core realm, he might be able to fight against her. However, Dong Fengji was way too far from that. Instantly, things changed on the battlefield. Dong Fengji had just formed 2 golden core phenomenons when they were shattered by Bai Mingshue. She could not help but shudder and her face turned paler. Even her organs were shaken violently. Her eyes flashed with panic and fear. That punch and sword strike had not only destroyed her golden core phenomenons, but also her confidence, pride and past glory. Dong Fengji, you've lost. Bai Mingshue strode forward with a cold expression and slashed in reverse towards Dong Fengji's head. Go! Right then, a bronze mirror filled with blood qi floated over from the battlefield. It shone with 6 spirit patterns and suddenly shone with a sanguine light that descended on Bai Mingshue. Bai Mingshue glanced at the spectator area. There were outsiders interfering. In the spectator area, Shimin Jingrui had an unfriendly expression as he glared at Bai Ming Xue on the stone platform. His fingers behind his back were conjuring hand seals as he controlled the blood-colored mirror in midair. It's the Connate spirit weapon, Bloodlight Mirror. That looks like Shimin Jingrui's weapon. Why is it on the battlefield? Many Bai Ming clansmen were stunned. In reality, the cultivators of the three aristocratic families present had naturally recognized that it was Shimin Jingrui's weapon. However, the cultivators of the three aristocratic families did not expose him out of respect. What are you guys doing? The aristocratic family competition is all one-on-one. Do you guys want to bully with numbers? Bai Ming Ao was extremely smart and could not help but holler when he saw what was going on. The cultivators sneered coldly and ignored him. Spectator area. Nangong Ling glanced sideways at Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi with a mocking expression. Why? You can't afford to lose? The aristocratic family competition has always been about fair fights. What's this? Dongfang Yi's expression did not change. It's not the aristocratic family competition now. It's a personal feud between Dongfang Ji and Bai Ming Xue. Shimin Zhe nodded slightly as well. That's right. Jingrui is already engaged to Jir, so he naturally can't watch her get bullied. It's only right for him to attack. You guys can even spin the way they're bullying with numbers into something righteous. How shameless can you guys get? Ru Xian could not help but stifle a chuckle. Nangong Ling said indifferently, Guys, let me advise you not to mess with Bai Ming Xue. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Ha ha ha. Shimin Zhe could not help but burst into laughter as though he had heard the greatest joke in the world as he shook his head. I really want to see how a slut of the Bai Ming clan in the territory of my Shimin family can make me deal with any consequences today. Nangong Ling retracted his gaze and did not persuade further. He had no intention of attacking either. With his judgment, he knew that even if Shimin Jingrui attacked, he might not be Bai Ming Xue's match. The Bloodlight Mirror was created from the bones of more than 100 ancient remnant beasts and was soaked in demon blood all year round, emitting an extremely evil aura. The bloodlight that descended was extremely damaging to cultivators. In fact, even some golden core phenomenons could not withstand the corrosion of that bloodlight. However, Bai Ming Xue merely frowned when the bloodlight enveloped her. Her blood qi was strong and surged like a tsunami. Even the blood of pure-blooded ferocious beasts could not hurt her, let alone the blood of ancient remnant beasts. However, the sword in her hands dimmed instantly and its edge was gone when it was tainted by the bloodlight. Thankfully, the sword was a perfect grade spirit weapon. If it was at supreme grade, it would have been destroyed within a few breaths. When she saw that, Dongfang Ji was invigorated and hope reignited in her eyes. With a tender shout, she controlled the heavenly essence spear and thrust it towards Bai Ming Xue. At the same time, she retrieved a black iron ruler from her storage bag and injected spirit energy into it. 6 spirit lights burst forth from the iron ruler. It was another Connate spirit weapon. Hollow Ruler. The Bai Ming clansmen recognized the Connate spirit weapon right away. That was because this spirit weapon was a treasure of the Bai Ming clan to begin with. A cold glint flashed through Bai Ming Xue's eyes. Back then, Dongfang Ji used the hollow ruler to shatter her golden core. That scene was etched in her memories. Today, everything would come to an end. Chapter 1360. Furious from Embarrassment. Chapter 1360. Furious from Embarrassment. The sword in her hand was already tainted by the bloodlight. Bai Ming Xue abandoned it and welcomed the incoming heavenly essence spear. She strode forward and reached out. As a Connate spirit weapon, the speed of the heavenly essence spear was way too fast. It was merely a silver light that streaked by and arrived instantly. However, Bai Ming Xue's palm grabbed the silver light. The silver light dissipated and the heavenly essence spear fell into Bai Ming Xue's palm. It revealed its true form and danced continuously, wanting to break free. Bai Ming Xue harumphed coldly and channeled her blood qi, exerting strength in her palm. The spirit light on the spear was drowned by Bai Ming Xue's blood qi instantly and dimmed. Dongfang Ji had completely lost control of the heavenly essence spear. Swash! The moment the heavenly essence spear arrived,
A black shadow descended as though it wanted to slice the void into two.
Connate spirit weapon, hollow ruler. Bai Mingshue's expression was unchanged as she raised her right hand and opened her fingers to grab the falling hollow ruler. The expressions of the cultivators changed and they exclaimed. Grabbing the incoming heavenly essence spear barehanded and the hollow ruler were two completely different situations. As long as the tip of the heavenly essence spear was avoided, it was not much of a threat. However, the power of the hollow ruler was extremely terrifying. Even cultivators of the Shiman aristocratic family who specialized in body tempering would have their bones and tendons snapped. Piak! The hollow ruler landed in Bai Mingshue's palm. Bai Mingshue did not move. In fact, there were no emotions in her eyes. Someone managed to receive the connate weapon, the hollow ruler, barehanded. The cultivators ground their teeth and winced. Was that a body of flesh and blood? Disbelief filled the eyes of the cultivators. Dong Fengji finally panicked. Her two connate spirit weapons were snatched away by Bai Mingshue barehanded. Even if she used other trump cards, there was no way she could be a match for Bai Mingshue. She moved and wanted to retreat. Unfortunately, Bai Mingshue was even faster than her. Bai Mingshue did not stop after receiving the two connate spirit weapons. In a flash, she arrived before Dong Fengji. Whoosh! Bai Mingshue stabbed towards Dong Fengji with the heavenly essence spear in her hand. How dare you! Dong Fengji shrieked and tore a protection talisman in her palm. A jade green light spread and enveloped her. Poof! When the heavenly essence spear struck the gigantic green barrier, it was as though an airbag was punctured and the barrier dissipated instantly. Dong Fengji's pupils constricted and her face turned pale. Her protection talisman could defend against a nascent soul's attack. She had not expected that the talisman would be shattered by Bai Mingshue instantly. Before she could think further, she felt a sharp pain beneath her abdomen. A domineering power struck her golden core. Crack, crack, crack. Dong Fengji's eyes widened. She could clearly feel cracks appearing on her golden core, densely packed and covering it instantly. Shattered. Bai Mingshue waved the hollow ruler and shattered her golden core with a single strike. Thud, thud, thud. Dong Fengji retreated continuously and staggered. Her legs went limp and she could not even stand as she fell to the ground. The shattering of her golden core meant that her 50 years of cultivation were instantly destroyed. Initially, golden cores in their 50s were in their prime because they had a lifespan of 500 years. But now that her golden core was shattered and her spirit energy was depleted, her lifespan had instantly fallen to 100 years of age for mortals. In her 50s, it meant that she had already spent more than half her lifespan. Within a few breaths, her black hair had already turned white and a few wrinkles appeared on her face, revealing her old age. Spectator area. With a bang, Dong Fengyi crushed the teacup in his hand. Bitch, how dare you! His expression darkened. He had not expected that the ants of the Baiming clan would dare to attack paragons of their aristocratic families so viciously during the aristocratic family competition. Dong Fengyi's face was filled with killing intent. Bai Mingshue was not the only one who was going to die today. All the Baiming clansmen were going to die with her. As though he sensed danger, the Baiming clan leader looked terrified and uneasy. The other clansmen were jittery as well. Although Bai Mingshue won, none of them looked excited at all as though they had lost their parents. In the crowd, Su Zimo was the only one who was calm. On the stone platform, Dong Fengji was defeated and her golden core was crippled. Immediately after, another figure charged over. Bitch, how dare you hurt Xier? You must have a death wish. Shiman Jingrui charged forward and cursed. Waving his palm, the bloodlight mirror in midair buzzed and spun towards Bai Mingshue. Bai Mingshue's expression was unchanged as she raised the hollow ruler and slashed forward. Clang! An ear-piercing sound of metal clashing echoed when the two connate spirit weapons collided. The bloodlight mirror was sent flying. At the same time, Shiman Jingrui had already arrived and punched Bai Mingshue. Instantly, an extremely strong killing intent burst forth from that punch. The Shiman aristocratic family specialized in metal spirit arts and killing techniques. Bai Mingxue had a mocking expression as she put away the hollow ruler and punched Shimin Jingrui's fist as well. Bang! There was a dull sound of defeat when the fists clashed. Bai Mingxue was motionless and her expression was indifferent. However, Shimin Jingrui's expression changed continuously. Immediately after, his arm cracked in an extremely terrifying manner. His entire arm was crippled by Bai Mingxue's punch. Shimin Jingrui was also a decisive person. Gritting his teeth, he did not dare to linger and flew out of the stone platform without making a single sound. Jingrui, take me with you! Dong Fengji shouted. Her golden core was crippled and she did not even have the ability to jump off the stone platform. When Shimin Jingrui heard Dong Fengji's shout, he looked over instinctively and was shocked. Right now, Dong Fengji was old and withered. She no longer had any of her former glory. A look of disgust flashed through the depths of Shimin Jingrui's eyes as he turned and fled. Why you? Dong Fengji was so angry that she was shivering with a desperate expression. Lifelong vows to the depths of the world. Everything was a lie. What are you guys waiting for? Suppress that slut. Shimin Zhe stood up with a grim expression and shouted. Swash, swash, swash. 5 figures stood out from beneath Shimin Zhe and released a powerful might. They were surrounded by dermic powers and charged towards Bai Mingxue with murderous auras. Nascent souls. Bai Mingxue crippled the most outstanding golden core cultivators of the Dongfeng and Shimin aristocratic families, and enraged Shimin Zhe and Dongfeng Yi completely. The few of you, capture those Bai Ming clansmen. I'm going to cripple all of their cultivations one by one and torture them slowly. Dongfeng Yi waved his hand and gave the order as well. Before long, a few nascent souls of the Dongfeng aristocratic family stood out as well and charged towards the Bai Ming clan. Because of Bai Mingxue's domineering appearance, this aristocratic family competition had spun completely out of control. Chapter 1361. Against Nascent Souls. Chapter 1361. Against Nascent Souls. Shimin Zhe, Dongfeng Yi, what are you guys doing? When Nangong Ling saw that the situation was not right, he slammed the table and stood up, hollering. Lu Hanyan and Ru Xian stood up as well, frowning. Earlier on, they could still sit by even when Dongfeng Ji and Shimin Jingrui ganged up on Bai Mingxue. After all, she was Su Zimo's eldest disciple and there was no danger even against 2 golden cores. But now that 5 nascent souls of the Shimin aristocratic family had attacked, the situation was completely different. This was blatantly bullying Bai Mingxue. They were taking advantage of the fact that the Bai Ming aristocratic family had no backing. Nangong Ling, let me ask you what you want to do. Dongfeng Yi pointed at Bai Mingxue with a cold expression and said frostily, that slut is ruthless to cripple a paragon of our Dongfeng aristocratic family. If I let her leave, our Dongfeng family will be disgraced. The Dongfeng family sure is overbearing. Lu Hanyan sneered, why? People from the Dongfeng family are allowed to cripple the golden cores of others while others are not allowed to do the same? My Dongfeng family is an ancient aristocratic family that has been passed down till this day and is comparable to the super sects of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sections. So what if we're this overbearing? Dongfeng Yi's aura was domineering as he shouted, everyone in the Bai Ming clan, a declining aristocratic family, are all ants in my eyes. Today, Bai Mingxue, that slut, is not the only one who will die. All the Bai Ming clansmen shall die with her. Dongfeng Yi, Shimin Zhe, I advise you guys to stop as soon as possible. Nangong Ling said slowly with a grim expression. After all, he had known the 2 of them when he was young. Furthermore, the 3 aristocratic families were on the same side. He was truly reminding them out of goodwill. That was because no one knew better than him. Nobody knew what sort of a terrifying person was hidden in the crowd beneath. That was an existence comparable to a primordial taboo. Right now, that taboo was still sleeping with his eyes closed. Once that taboo was awakened, it would definitely be earth-shaking the moment he opened his eyes. Nobody could withstand it. The entire Shimin villa would be overturned. However, Nan Gongling's persuasion only caused Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi to sneer. Nan Gongling, before this, I ignored the fact that your Nan Gong family was protecting the Baiming clan. Shimin Zhe said coldly, now, you want to break off with our two aristocratic families because of a slut from the Baiming clan. Nan Gongling, let me tell you, this is the territory of Shimin Villa. This is my territory. Shimin Zhe had a dignified gaze and exuded a tremendous might as he said slowly, I don't care how strong you are after going out to train, Nan Gongling. Today, even if you're a true dragon, you'll have to coil yourself up. The crowd was also in chaos. Nobody expected the commanders of the three aristocratic families to enter a standoff because of Baiming Xue. Shimin Zhe's words were extremely decisive without any room for negotiation. If Nan Gongling persisted, he would have to fight head-on against the two aristocratic families. Furthermore, Shimin Zhe's words were definitely not a threat. This was the territory of the Shimin aristocratic family after all. There were definitely Dharma characteristic experts hidden in this villa. If the Nangong and Shimin aristocratic families were to clash, those experts would definitely appear and the Nangong aristocratic family would definitely not be a match. Nan Gongling's forehead was filled with sweat and he looked troubled. Right then, Lu Hanyan secretly tugged at Nan Gongling's clothes and looked into the crowd. Nan Gongling looked over instinctively. The crowd below was in chaos. However, among the crowd, there was a green-robed man who was calm and composed. His eyes were closed, as though he was indifferent to everything around him. Even when nascent souls of the Shimin and Dongfang aristocratic families appeared, he did not open his eyes. Ru Xian sent a voice transmission. Strange, didn't Granduncle Master say that no one is allowed to bully Baiming Xue? Why doesn't he seem anxious? Let's wait and see first. It won't be too late to act by the time Granduncle Master gives any instructions. Lu Hanyan sent a voice transmission with her spirit consciousness. Nan Gongling nodded and sat back slowly. On a stone platform on the other side. A hint of panic flashed through Baiming Xue's eyes as well against the 5 nascent souls of the Shimin aristocratic family. She would not be afraid even against 50 golden cores. However, she was currently surrounded by 5 nascent souls. Before she cultivated the martial Dao, she was only a golden core. Even if she cultivated the martial Dao, or even reached the 8th transformation, her cultivation was only equivalent to the golden core realm. There was a major cultivation realm difference between the nascent soul and golden core realm. To Baiming Xue, that major cultivation realm was an insurmountable chasm. She had never fought against nascent souls before, let alone the fact that she was surrounded by 5 of them now. She could not help but feel a little nervous. Instinctively, she looked towards Su Zimo. He stood in the crowd with his eyes closed, seemingly oblivious to everything. Baiming Xue realized that she could only rely on herself to resolve the situation. Naturally, Su Zimo would not attack. As a cultivator, this was a situation that Baiming Xue would definitely face in the cultivation world in the future. In fact, things might be even more dangerous at that time. It was impossible for Su Zimo to be by her side all the time. The current situation was a test for Baiming Xue. If she could pass this test, she would be able to grow rapidly. Furthermore, in Su Zimo's heart, the difference of a major cultivation realm was not considered as bullying. As his eldest disciple, if she could not even deal with this situation, he would have wasted his time teaching her all these years. On the stone platform. Bang! Bang! The entire stone platform quaked violently as the 5 nascent souls of the Shimin aristocratic family descended one after another. Among the 3 aristocratic families, the Shimin aristocratic family specialized in body tempering and melee combat. Zing! 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 The 5 successors of the Shimin aristocratic family summoned their destiny dermic weapons, sabers and swords. In a flash, they surrounded Baiming Xue. At the nascent soul realm, one had already cultivated an essence spirit and could utilize dermic powers. If it was any other cultivator, they might not have been able to withstand the pressure and would have surrendered. However, Baiming Xue channeled her blood qi with all her might under the immense pressure. A tsunami sound echoed from her body and her aura surged, rising to its limits. Ah! She reared her head and howled into the skies. Instead of retreating against the encirclement of 5 nascent souls, she attacked first. Boom! Bai Ming Xue strode forward and charged before a nascent soul. She gripped the heavenly essence spear that was shrouded by astral chi and stabbed it towards the person's head. You must have a death wish. The person's expression was cold as he slashed in reverse towards the heavenly essence spear. Clang! Sparks flew as the weapons collided. A look of shock flashed through the person's eyes. As a cultivator of the Ximen aristocratic family, his body and bloodline were strong to begin with. Now that he was at the nascent soul realm and was refining his body and bloodline with dermic powers, it was even more terrifying. Not only that, he had the help of his destiny dermic weapon. In his opinion, he could defeat Bai Ming Xue with a single slash. He could kill her with a second slash right after. However, he truly had not expected that he would feel an extremely terrifying power surge into his body through his saber the moment they clashed. His body and bloodline could not withstand the ferocity of that power. Chapter 1362. Indestructible Diamond. Chapter 1362. Indestructible Diamond. The nascent soul of the Ximen family felt that he was not facing a human, but a humanoid pure-blooded ferocious beast. Thump! Against that terrifying power, the nascent soul knelt onto the ground right away. The crowd was shocked. Ximen Zhe and Dongfang Yi widened their eyes in disbelief as well. Bai Ming Xue was so strong that she could even suppress nascent souls. Bang! Bai Ming Xue extended her leg and poked the person's chest. The nascent soul's body shuddered and his heart exploded as an arrow of blood spurted out. His blood qi drained rapidly and he looked dispirited. At the same time, the other 4 nascent souls of the Ximen aristocratic family behind her closed in. Bai Ming Xue swung the hollow ruler in reverse and slashed behind her. Clang! The hollow ruler clashed against 4 dermic weapons. Snap! The hollow ruler shattered. Among them, a nascent soul's dermic weapon was a connate perfected lord dermic weapon that broke the hollow ruler. However, the 4 nascent souls shuddered and could not help but retreat a step. Even with a spirit weapon and 1 against 4, Bai Ming Xue had the advantage in terms of strength. Although the hollow ruler was shattered, Bai Ming Xue was invigorated and broke free from her initial panic and fear. With a burning gaze, she strode forward and attacked once more. She raised the heavenly essence spear and stabbed towards the face of a nascent soul. Break! The nascent soul hollered and raised his sword to slash. Earlier on, this person was the one with the connate perfected lord dermic weapon and snapped the hollow ruler. He was the first person Bai Ming Xue targeted. Clang! As expected, the heavenly essence spear broke. However, that person shuddered as well. The immense power imbued within the heavenly essence spear surged into his body through his dermic weapon, and he did not feel good either. Thankfully, he had tempered his body regularly. If it was a nascent soul of the Dongfang or Nangong aristocratic families, he would have been injured by that single attack. The moment that person shuddered, Bai Ming Xue's gaze intensified and she leaned forward, cutting into his embrace instantly. She avoided the dermic weapons of the other 3 nascent souls and pushed against his chest. Snap! The person's chest caved in as he fell limply with widened eyes. In the blink of an eye, 2 nascent souls of the Ximen aristocratic family were crippled. After cultivating the martial Dao, Bai Ming Xue's strength, speed, reaction and spirit perception had already reached an extremely terrifying realm. Swash! An evil gust of wind blew behind her. Bai Ming Xue seemed to have eyes behind her head and without turning back, a series of crackling sounds came from her body. Her entire body suddenly shrank as though she had transformed into a midget and avoided the sharpness of the 3 dermic weapons by a hair's breadth. At Tsunami Blood Realm, Tenden's transformation was even easier to master. The remaining 3 nascent souls were stunned. Bai Ming Xue stretched her body once more and arrived before a nascent soul, grabbing his throat. Instantly, the nascent soul's throat was ripped as he fell to the ground, convulsing. At the spectator area, Ximen Zhe's expression was already extremely grim. In his heart, Bai Ming Xue was already a dead person. However, he was a void reversion after all. Due to his status, he endured it and did not attack. On the other side, the nascent souls of the Dongfang aristocratic family, who were initially charging towards the Baiming clansmen, noticed this as well and turned around. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Before the 7 nascent souls of the Dongfang aristocratic family arrived, they summoned their destiny-dermic weapons, swords or spears, and charged towards Baiming Xue through the void. Baiming Xue sensed danger and felt immense pressure. On the stone platform, there were only 2 nascent souls from the Shiman aristocratic family left. If the 2 perfected lords of the Shiman aristocratic family were to engage in melee combat and restrict her movement techniques, she would be in an extremely dangerous situation with the perfected lords of the Dongfang aristocratic family attacking her from afar. At that thought, Baiming Xue strode forward and charged towards the 2 nascent souls of the Shiman aristocratic family, ignoring the incoming flying swords and spears. The 2 nascent souls were experienced as well and no longer attacked proactively. They changed their tactics and focused on restraining Baiming Xue. A decisive look flashed through Baiming Xue's eyes as she suddenly reached out for a nascent soul's dermic weapon. You must have a death wish. The nascent soul of the Shiman aristocratic family was delighted when he saw that. He hurriedly twisted the sword in his hands, wanting to sever Baiming Xue's palm. Piak! Baiming Xue grabbed his sword with her palm and scarlet blood flowed out, but the sword did not move at all. The nascent soul looked flustered. Baiming Xue took advantage of the situation and slapped the person on the head, killing him. The other nascent soul of the Shiman aristocratic family could not escape either. Baiming Xue hurried forward and killed him using her injured palm. Poof, poof. At that moment, she had expended a lot of mental and physical energy on the consecutive pursuits. Although she managed to avoid 5 of the dermic weapons that were chasing her, she could not dodge the other 2. Her abdomen was pierced by a spear. There was a bone-deep wound on her thigh that was dripping with blood. Furthermore, she had just killed 2 nascent souls of the Shiman family forcefully and her palm was filled with blood. She looked extremely wretched. Bitch, prepare to die. A nascent soul of the Dongfang aristocratic family looked down at Baiming Xue. To them, her severe injuries were equivalent to loss of combat strength. Although Baiming Xue could still stand on the spot, she was already at the end of her rope. But soon, the expressions of the 7 nascent souls from the Dongfang aristocratic family changed. Their eyes widened and their pupils constricted. Pest! Gasps could be heard from the crowd as well. At the spectator area, Shiman Zhe and Dongfang Yi had grim expressions as they glared at Baiming Xue's wounds and murmured, "How is that possible?" Under countless gazes, Baiming Xue's wounds were healing at a visible speed. Even around the gigantic hole in her abdomen area, meat grew rapidly and intertwined to heal her wound. In that short period of time, the wound on Baiming Xue's palm had already healed. The wound on her thigh had already formed a scar and in the blink of an eye, it began to fall off. What terrifying regeneration capabilities! I got it! It's Indestructible Diamond. Baiming Xue has cultivated to the 8th transformation of the martial Dao, Indestructible Diamond. Cries of surprises came from the crowd. The 8th transformation of the martial Dao, Indestructible Diamond, did not mean that one would be invulnerable against weapons, water and fire at this cultivation realm. After all, no matter how strong one's physique was, they could still be injured against terrifying strength or weapons. The so-called Indestructible Diamond was to ensure one's combat strength as much as possible with immense regeneration capabilities after injuries. Even pure-blooded ferocious beasts could not match such frightening regeneration capabilities. What are you guys waiting for? Dongfang Yi could not help but shout. Are you guys waiting for that slut to recover before attacking? Chapter 1363. Dragon Elephant Force, Bloodline Awakening. Chapter 1363. Dragon Elephant Force, Bloodline Awakening. Swash, swash, swash. Dermic weapons tore through the void and sped towards Baiming Xue, arriving instantly. Baiming Xue tossed and turned on the stone platform. She was agile and graceful like a worm as she charged towards one of the nascent souls without touching the ground. All the cultivators witnessed Baiming Xue's power of bloodline and physique. Even the nascent souls of the Shiman aristocratic family were suppressed. There was no way the perfected lords of the Dongfeng aristocratic family could go against her head-on. The nascent soul reacted extremely quickly and retreated. At the same time, he conjured hand seals and released a dermic art that enveloped Baiming Xue. Boom! Baiming Xue raised her head and punched heavily against the dermic art. With just her physique and blood qi, Baiming Xue, who was at the Golden Core realm, managed to dispel the dermic art of a nascent soul. Of course, she lost the chance to catch up to that person after the collision with the dermic art. Bang! 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 The dermic arts of the other nascent souls blanketed the skies as well. Dermic weapons and dermic arts suppressed Baiming Xue's space continuously such that she could not take care of both ends and could not get close to any cultivator. Of course, her regeneration capabilities were shocking after she cultivated to the indestructible diamond realm. It would be difficult for the 7 nascent souls of the Dongfeng aristocratic family to encircle and kill Baiming Xue within a short period of time as well. Even when they ganged up to kill a single golden core, the 7 nascent souls were in a stalemate. Dongfeng Yi's expression was steely. In fact, he had the urge to make a move to kill Baiming Xue personally. However, given his status and the fact that everyone was present, he thought for a moment and glanced sideways, whispering, "Wu Hua, the 5 of you, head up and suppress that slut as quickly as possible." Perfected Lord Wu Hua nodded slightly and arrived in midair in a flash. The other 4 nascent souls followed closely behind. Hurry, look! Another 5 nascent souls of the Dongfeng aristocratic family are attacking. Baiming Xue is finished. She's in deep trouble and the Baiming clan might be annihilated. What a waste of her amazing talent. I've never heard of a cultivator who can cultivate to the 8th transformation yet. Speaking of which, it's no wonder why Dao Lord Desolate Martial is the #1 monster incarnate in history. The Martial Sutra that he created can actually cultivate such a terrifying power. The crowd was in chaos as the cultivators discussed. Nangong Ling, Lu Hanyan and Ru Xian were nervous. The 3 of them turned to look at Su Zimo instinctively. At that moment, Su Zimo was still calm and composed with his eyes closed, as though he had not seen Baiming Xue in danger. Granduncle Master is way too composed. He's just going to let his disciple be surrounded just like that? Ru Xian was secretly speechless. Nangong Ling was puzzled as well and sent a voice transmission. Perhaps Granduncle Master has other intentions. Right then, the situation on the battlefield changed with the addition of 5 nascent souls. Initially, Baiming Xue could hold out against the 7 nascent souls. But now, she was clearly struggling against the encirclement of 12 nascent souls. She had been through consecutive battles. Furthermore, they were against nascent souls. The toll on Baiming Xue was immense. If not for the fact that she cultivated the martial Dao and had a robust blood qi and stamina, she would have collapsed a long time ago. As time passed, Baiming Xue's movement technique gradually slowed down and she was no longer as agile as before. Poof! One of Baiming Xue's dodges became sluggish and a new wound appeared on her arm with fresh blood flowing. Poof! Before the wound healed, another flying sword sliced across Baiming Xue's thigh, causing blood to spray. Her figure staggered. However, she grit her teeth and remained silent with an expressionless face. "Bitch, let's see how long more you can last." Perfected Lord Wu Hua smirked with a mocking gaze. Poof, poof, poof. More wounds appeared on Baiming Xue's body. No matter how strong her regeneration capabilities were, she could not heal in time. Before long, Baiming Xue was covered in blood and injuries, looking extremely miserable. However, there was no intention of submitting in her eyes. On the contrary, it was as though a terrifying power was gradually awakening within her. In truth, ever since she cultivated the martial Dao, Baiming Xue had never fought against true experts or faced any calamities of life and death. Even with Su Zimo's guidance, her accomplishments were limited. Back then, Dai Yu also abandoned Su Zimo in Songlang mountain range for a year before he truly grew up. Now that she had defeated Dongfeng Ji, the knot in her heart was gone and her mind was clear. She felt an unprecedented joy and gained a new understanding of the martial Dao. Furthermore, under the immense pressure and the constant stimulation of life and death, the bottleneck of the 9th transformation of the martial Dao had finally loosened. Ah! Suddenly, Baiming Xue reared her head and howled into the skies. Although she was drenched in blood, it was as though a shackle in her body had been broken. An unprecedented power burst forth from her body, ready to gush out. The howl was extremely terrifying. It sounded like a dragon roar and an elephant cry.
Even perfected Lord Wu Hua and the others felt a sharp pain in their ears as their bodies swayed and they nearly fell from midair.
This is... Could it be the 9th transformation of the martial Dao, Dragon Elephant Force? A wave of shock and astonishment could be heard from the crowd. Bang! 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 Suddenly, Bai Ming Xue swung her fists in all directions to release the surging power in her body. The incoming perfected Lord Dermic weapon was sent flying by Bai Ming Xue's fists and fell into the crowd, causing a commotion. Pest! The expressions of perfected Lord Wu Hua and the others changed. Even a perfected Lord Dermic weapon could not hurt Bai Ming Xue. Everyone, join forces and suppress this woman. Perfected Lord Wu Hua shouted and channeled his essence spirit fanatically, conjuring a powerful Dermic art. The other nascent souls conjured hand seals and Dermic arts one after another as well. Instantly, the Dermic powers around the stone platform surged. 12 Dermic arts tore through the air and released a terrifying might that suppressed Bai Ming Xue like thunder. Bai Ming Xue's eyes were cold as her bloodline surged and circulated fanatically. A power from the ancient era had silently awakened. Splash! The sound of a tsunami could be heard in the void. This was not tsunami blood. Right in front of everyone, a dark ocean appeared behind Bai Ming Xue and emitted an extremely cold aura.
Bai Ming Ocean?
Bai Ming Ao murmured with a confused expression. His golden core phenomenon was Bai Ming Ocean, so he was extremely familiar with that ocean. However, the power of the ocean behind Bai Ming Xue was clearly countless times stronger than his own Bai Ming Ocean. In the face of this ocean, his golden core phenomenon was like a small puddle. How could this be? Bai Ming Ao blinked and asked curiously. There shouldn't be a golden core phenomenon when cultivating the martial Dao. This. The voice of the Bai Ming clansman trembled slightly. This is not a golden core phenomenon, but a bloodline phenomenon. Right then, Su Zimo opened his eyes as well. His gaze landed on the ocean behind Bai Ming Xue, as though it could penetrate the depths of the ocean into the core of the Bai Ming Ocean. Within it seemed to be an even more terrifying existence. Chapter 1364, Kuan. Chapter 1364, Kuan. Bloodline Phenomenon. Shimen Zhe and Dong Fang jolted upright as they exclaimed in shock. Both of them were void reversions and knew very well how difficult it was to cultivate one's bloodline to the tsunami blood realm. Above tsunami blood was the legendary bloodline phenomenon. It was said that only the god race bloodline could produce innate phenomenons. It was almost impossible for human cultivators to cultivate phenomenons through their bloodlines. The two of them could still maintain their composure if Bai Ming Xue had merely cultivated to the 8th or even 9th transformation of the martial Dao. However, they could no longer sit still when they saw the bloodline phenomenon. A thought crossed both their minds. They wanted to kill Bai Ming Xue. How terrifying would Bai Ming Xue be if she could condense a bloodline phenomenon at the Golden Core realm? Neither of them dared to imagine. Bang! Boom! Boom! On the battlefield, the Bai Ming Ocean surged and blanketed the skies, engulfing perfected Lord Wu Hua and the others instantly. The seawater was chilling to the bones. Among the 12 nascent souls, some of them had lower cultivation realms and weak blood qi. In fact, there were even rows of ice shards in their bloodlines that froze their limbs. 2 of the nascent souls were pale as a layer of frost appeared on their faces. Their gazes dimmed and they sank into the sea, vanishing with their lives. The moment the bloodline phenomenon descended, it devoured the 2 nascent souls before long. The remaining 10 nascent souls struggled endlessly within the Bai Ming Ocean as well, wanting to break free. However, the seawater surged with an extremely cold aura. It was not so easy to break free. Only perfected Lord Wu Hua and another 2 tore apart their protection talismans and rode on their dermic weapons, fleeing into the distance without turning back, wanting to get out of the radius of the phenomenon. All of a sudden, in the middle of the deep ocean,
A gigantic semicircular wave surged as though a massive object was floating beneath the surface of the ocean. One after another, terrifying waves surged above the surface of the ocean and howled. The few nascent souls that were initially struggling in the seawater were drowned by the waves and could no longer float as they died. Only perfected Lord Wu Hua and another two who escaped far away were lucky to survive. Even so, the three of them were scared out of their wits and blood drained from their faces. Perhaps because they were frozen by the seawater, they were shivering with frightened expressions. All of a sudden, two cold beams of light appeared on the surface of the ocean. It was a pair of gigantic eyes. The eyes were so huge that they resembled the blazing sun in the skies. Compared to those eyes, all the cultivators were like tiny specks of dust. All the cultivators looked up with their mouths widened in shock. Under countless gazes, a massive object gradually appeared on the surface of the ocean and revealed its true appearance. It was so massive that it seemed like it was thousands of kilometers long and blanketed the skies, enveloping the entire space above the Shemin villa. Thud, thud. Some cultivators could not withstand the pressure and knelt on the ground one after another. Against that massive object, all the cultivators present, including the nascent souls and void reversions, felt shudders. It was a bloodline suppression. It was a fear that stemmed from the ancient era. Heavens! What's going on? Some of the cultivators were trembling in fear. The Dharma characteristic Tao lords who were initially meditating in the Shemin villa were alarmed by the commotion and looked up. Pest! They shuddered and gasped. What is that demon beast? Could it be a whale from the sea? Impossible. Even the gigantic whales are far from this terrifying. That aura seems to be. Some Dharma characteristic Tao lords thought of a possibility and their hearts skipped a beat. In a cave abode in a corner of the villa, an old man in seclusion opened his eyes slowly. His face was filled with wrinkles and his eyes were aged. It was unknown how long he had lived. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the layers of obstacles and land on the massive being above the firmaments. Even with his experience, he could not help but frown when he saw that massive object and murmured, Kuan, one of the primordial 9 races. On the battlefield, the massive object's eyes were even colder than the seawater as they landed on perfected Lord Wu Hua and the other two. The three of them were still in the Baiming Ocean. To it, that was already a violation of its territory. Perfected Lord Wu Hua fled into the distance as though he had gone mad. Suddenly, the demon beast opened its mouth and released an irresistible suction force, as though it wanted to devour the entire world. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The seawater gushed into its mouth. Perfected Lord Wu Hua and the other two could not help but be sucked towards the demon beast. In the blink of an eye, the three of them were devoured by the demon beast and vanished entirely. Dead. 3 nascent souls were devoured alive by that demon beast. Including the 5 nascent souls of the Shemin aristocratic family, a total of 17 nascent souls were either dead or injured. Nobody was spared. Although Nangong Ling and the other two were mentally prepared, they were still shocked speechless. The bloodline phenomenon that Baiming Xue cultivated was not the Baiming Ocean, but the massive demon beast hidden in the depths of the ocean. At that moment, Baiming Xue was in a strange state as well. Ever since she released her bloodline phenomenon, Baiming Xue frowned and turned to look in the direction of Baiming Town with a lost gaze. Right then, an extremely cold killing intent appeared. A warning flashed in Baiming Xue's mind. An intense sense of danger descended and almost suffocated her. A terrifying spirit consciousness fluctuation spread through the void. At the spectator area, Dongfang Yi and Shimen Zai's glabellas shone at the same time. Their spirit consciousnesses condensed and released an essence spirit secret skill that descended on Baiming Xue. As void reversions and commanders of 2 aristocratic families, they had no intention of doing it personally given their status. However, the 2 of them could no longer hold it in after Baiming Xue's bloodline phenomenon descended. They had to step in to kill Baiming Xue. The 2 of them had a tacit understanding and did not even use any dermic arts or weapons. Instead, they used the most lethal killing move of void reversions, essence spirit secret skills. Essence spirit secret skills were killing techniques that targeted the essence spirit directly. It was almost impossible for nascent souls to defend against it, let alone golden cores. Like a saber,
the spirit consciousnesses could slice through Bai Mingshue's mind instantly. Nangong Ling sensed the spirit consciousness fluctuation and quickly realized something. However, it was too late for him to stop it. "Don't!" he could only exclaim. Too late. A vicious glint flashed through Dongfang Yi's eyes.
Shimin Zhe said coldly as well, "It's your honor to die in the hands of the two of us, slut."
Chapter 1365. I'm her master. Chapter 1365. I'm her master. Sister!
Bai Ming exclaimed with a look of despair.
The Bai Ming clan leader's eyes dimmed as well as he sighed internally. It was not easy for the Bai Ming clan to produce such a rare monster incarnate. To think that she would be killed by the three aristocratic families before she could grow further. Even Nangong Ling and the others could not interfere in time, let alone outsiders. Furthermore, even if everyone from the Bai Ming clan reacted, who could stop a void reversion's essence spirit secret skill? Nobody. The burst of an essence spirit secret skill was extremely fast and descended almost instantly. On the stone platform, Bai Mingxue could only watch helplessly. She could not resist against a power of this level. No matter how strong her bloodline phenomenon was, it could not defend against essence spirit secret skills. This was the suppression of a major cultivation realm. Void reversions could kill golden cores with a single thought. All of a sudden, Bai Mingxue felt her wrist heat up. 6 mysterious Sanskrit sounds echoed in her mind instantly. Immediately after, a divine golden barrier of light appeared around her with mysterious, ancient words etched on it. "It's the Buddha beads that Master gave me." The thought flashed through Bai Mingshue's mind. In a flash, Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi's essence spirit secret skills descended and passed through Bai Mingshue's bloodline phenomenon, colliding heavily against the golden barrier. The two energies collided and the barrier trembled violently with ripples on the surface. However, the entire process was silent. In the end, the two essence spirit secret skills could not break through the defense of the golden barrier and dissipated silently. Bai Mingshue's face was pale as she retreated a few steps. Although her bloodline phenomenon had dissipated against the impact of the two essence spirit secret skills, she survived. Bai Mingxue panted slightly with shock and joy in her eyes. The golden barrier around her could no longer hold on and its glow dimmed, dispersing into emptiness as though everything that happened was an illusion. In midair, Shimin Zhe's eyes widened and his sneer froze on his face as he looked at everything in disbelief. The ferocity in Dongfang Yi's eyes gradually turned into shock. All around the massive Shimin villa, from the front to the back, the initial clamor of chaos had suddenly become complete silence where one could even hear a pin drop. All the cultivators looked at the girl on the stone platform with dumbfounded expressions as though they had seen a ghost. How was that possible? Bai Mingxue was not dead after two void reversions attacked and released their essence spirit secret skills. What happened in that instant earlier on? A golden barrier seemed to have appeared around Bai Mingxue. What was that? Countless questions surfaced in the minds of the cultivators. Nangong Ling's heart skipped a beat as he swept his spirit consciousness across Bai Mingshue's wrist and he could not help but shudder. The Mingwang prayer beads. To think that Granduncle Master would value her so much that he even gave her the Mingwang prayer beads. A deep envy grew in Nangong Ling's heart. Essence spirit dermic weapons were extremely precious. As for the Mingwang prayer beads, they were the best among essence spirit dermic weapons and were the treasures that supported Daming Monastery in the past. In that short period of time, Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi gradually realized as well. It's an essence spirit dermic weapon. Shimin Zhe narrowed his eyes and his gaze flickered. Although he did not know that it was the Mingwang prayer beads, he guessed from his experience that Bai Mingxue must be wearing an extremely powerful essence spirit dermic weapon. Bai Mingxue was only at the Golden Core realm and could not use this essence spirit dermic weapon. Even so, she managed to defend against their two essence spirit secret skills with the power of the essence spirit dermic weapon alone. How much power could be unleashed by that essence spirit dermic weapon if he got his hands on it? Almost instantly, Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi were filled with greed. Could this be the secret guarded by the Biming aristocratic family? A thought flashed through Dongfang Yi's mind. The more he thought about it, the more likely it was the truth. Even if Biming Xue managed to avoid a calamity with her essence spirit dermic weapon, she won't be able to escape death. That's right, there are way too many methods for void reversions to kill her. The difference between them is not something that an essence spirit dermic weapon can make up for. Gradually, voices sounded from the crowd. Bitch, where did you obtain your essence spirit dermic weapon? Shimin-Zhe was no longer in a hurry to attack as he asked slowly. He also thought that this essence spirit dermic weapon might have something to do with the secret guarded by the Biming aristocratic family. Therefore, he wanted to find the truth from Biming Xue. Biming Xue's heart skipped a beat. She remained silent and pursed her lips. There was no way she would expose her master. She already knew that her master was severely injured in the Battle of Heaven and Earth Valley, and his essence spirit was damaged. He could not even use his dermic powers and his combat strength was greatly reduced. If her master's location was exposed right now, it would be equivalent to his death. Without waiting for the super sex and primordial races outside, the strength of the 3 aristocratic families alone was enough to kill her master. Not telling. Shimin-Zhe smirked coldly and released his pressure as a void reversion towards Biming Xue. It's fine if you don't want to tell me. I have many methods that can cause you endless pain. Shimin-Zhe revealed a cruel smile. At that time, you'll kneel beside my feet and beg me to kill you. I gave that essence spirit dermic weapon to her. All of a sudden, a calm voice sounded from the crowd and spread through the entire place. Nangong Ling, Lu Hanyan and Ru Xian were shocked. All the cultivators looked over. Among the Biming clan, a green-robed man was squeezing through the crowd and walking slowly outside. The man had refined features but his face was withered and yellow, as though he was severely ill. He looked extremely weak without any cultivation and did not seem like a cultivator. However, that person's eyes were extremely bright and spirited. Where are you going? Don't go and die for nothing. When Biming Ao saw Su Zimo stand out, he grabbed Su Zimo's arm instinctively. Su Zimo did not even look at him and merely flung Biming Ao's palm gently. His palm went numb and he could not exert any strength for a long time. Biming Ao's mouth was agape and he was stunned for a moment. In that short period of time, Shimin-Zhe and Dongfang Yi had long scanned Su Zimo's body and did not sense any threat. Both of their expressions relaxed quickly. Oh! Shimin-Zhe looked at Su Zimo with a mocking gaze and smiled gently, asking, "And who are you?" "I'm her master." Su Zimo pointed at Biming Xue on the stone platform and said indifferently. "Ha ha ha ha." Shimin-Zhe and Dongfang Yi could not help but laugh. Many cultivators of the 3 aristocratic families roared in laughter as well. The current situation was extremely obvious. Biming Xue was already a dead person. At this moment, anyone who stood out would have to die with her. Therefore, in their eyes, this green-robed man was a fool who did not know what was good for him. At the spectator area, Nangong Ling, Lu Hanyan and Ru Xian did not laugh. The 3 of them looked at Shimin-Zhe and Dongfang Yi silently with strange gazes, as though they were looking at 2 dead men. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.